Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. Hopefully, everyone has had themselves a good weekend. A good weekend. I know I'm kind of in a perpetual gloom of rain here, but it is rainy season, so it's named that. But today's another gloomy, rainy day. But it's all right. I got a hot cup of fresh coffee. I just dropped it, and of course, I'm sitting here with friends, and we're gonna have a laugh at all the stupidity in the world, but then also be happy that we're not actually surrounded by those people. We have our friends and our family, and it's all good. At least I hope that's your situation. But they are funny, and boy, they use the word doubling down. It's something everyone in English, is particularly an American, understands, British as well. But I don't know what multiple we're up to now. Yeah, we got to be over 100. So centupling down? We'll go with that. We'll go with that. Thunder is having a little bit of trouble with his mic, so we're going to let him work that out. But George is looking good in his red, though. Although I hate to tell you this, I kind of think George would probably be a Democrat, to be honest with you. Sacrilege, he says. Yeah, you're super roboting. I know I angered you, which was my goal. But yeah, no, it's not working at all. And he just left. So that was success. I'm going to take that as success. But nevertheless, of course, I'm just playing around. But George, he was a bit troublesome. He was a bit of a spoiled brat. A lot of people don't know this about him. But nevertheless, welcome. And I'm going to go over here and hit that like and share button. Hopefully, you guys do the same. Let everybody know we're on. I used to do it on Facebook as well, but my Facebook was stolen. And I sent a comment into Facebook, and they were like, no response. So they don't really care about their customers, which is anyone really surprised? And I honestly I only used it here, so it wasn't a big loss. I just let it go. I don't really complain about it. To be fair, I don't really use SNS stuff or social media stuff very much. Mainly, I use it here. So you know, it's not that big a loss to me. But hopefully everyone's on the Discord by now. If you're not, please go join. As far as I know, it's an open, free Discord. So go be part of that. And you'll know when we're coming on, and the guys have a lot of fun chats. So the guys and the gals have a lot of little fun chats during the week. And me personally, when you see me is my free time. The rest of my time, I'm off in the world doing something. And it is what it is. But nevertheless, so just for communication purposes, definitely pay attention to the Discord. And of course, I can still drop on Twitter. At least I still have that account, my Grandpa Monster account. So, you know, it's all good. I identify with Grandpa Monster, you know, he's pretty cool. Yeah. Let's see here. Roger says, muscle and angels and muscle and smiles, exclamation point, exclamation point. Not sure what that means. Well, looks like someone is starting early instead of 5:02 p.m. Uh, excuse me, sir. I am punctual. Dave says, the rain song, Led Zeppelin. Yeah, that's true. Led Zeppelin's got a lot of good music, man. I appreciate them. Roger continues by saying, "Well, there's a whole global blackout is coming here soon. Is it? I haven't heard about a global blackout. The solar storms are a thing, you know, but like I said before, we've had a Carrington level event here a few weeks back as far as sun flares, and the system held up really well. I mean, there were some places in the countryside around the world that didn't hold up, that had trouble. But in general, their protecting of the electrical systems, they've done a good job. I know what to say because that event is what they've dreaded. They've been dreading for decades and decades, that Carrington level event, and we had it, and they came through really well. Like I said, I know there's some people in Utah and Arizona, and a few really countryside places that did lose power. They lost everything. But of course it came back. You mean X, not Twitter? No, no, Roger. I don't care what Elon wants. Elon's got enough shit. He doesn't get that as well. Yes. Well, that's possible. It depends, Roger, if you're talking about Google and their basic plan to not let anyone see what's going on with the American election. But to be fair, why are you using Google? I mean, I use it, I guess, because it functions best with a lot of these things. But no, I'm using Firefox. They kind of use Google though. But you got Brave and you got DuckDuckGo, and you got there's a bunch of search engines that are really good that aren't Google. So just use something else. But Google is corrupt. I mean, they are. It is what it is. It's become very political. They control what you see, and in some ways, it's quite disgusting. Like I saw this thing the other day, where in China, the average person, because the majority of the population is ridiculous level poverty, right? So the average person only makes about $300 to $500 a year. I'm not kidding with that number. That's real. Now, if you go to the cities, it is higher. Of course. But even if you got a really good job in the city, I'm not talking about someone who's made themselves a millionaire, but a really good job, like an executive job or a doctor or something like that. If you're making $10,000 to $12,000 a year, you're doing really well in China. And keep in mind, if you want to look at the yuan or the RMP, as they also call it, but yuan is what it is. If you take a look at that, it's basically a 1 to 7 ratio, right? So if you see 7 yuan, it equals $1. So how does it spend? Well, it spends about a 70% rate. So basically, for what you would spend for a dollar, they're spending the adjusted amount of 70 cents. So it's not that different. And keep in mind, most of the world is kind of around that ratio. You're not looking at many places in the world where $1 equals the equivalent, adjusted, $10 or something. It used to be like that, but it's not anymore. Everything's kind of leveled up, which I think is a good thing actually. But you're not looking at these huge ratios anymore. Your dollar, if you go to most places, will allow you a little bit better spending than the local people, sure, but it's not outrageous, right? It's not outrageous. Like when I was in Taiwan, living in Taiwan, 30 years ago, I had a good, I'd say a good 2.5 ratio, right? So every dollar of mine would be valued at 2.5 times the spending value in the culture. Thailand was even more like a 4, I think. But these days, the equivalence it's much closer, like 60, 80%, something like that. And therefore, these, like for a doctor getting paid around 10 grand, right? 10, 12 grand a year, you're looking at, they really can't do much. That's pretty tight. Now housing prices are lower and you have things that are going on, but it's still ridiculously tight. And keep in mind, a cop makes around the same. And of course, in any kind of communist or Marxist government, the police are basically the highest paid people. You can't really have anyone get paid more because of the situation. But it's really, really bad. However, my point about Google is this: if you go search right now on Google, the average pay monthly, they do it by monthly, which is fine. But the average monthly pay for a Chinese citizen. Now, keep in mind, it's actually under $1,000 for a good paying job a month. They have it at 4,400. So more than 4 times the actual truth of the best paid people they have as the average pay for Chinese. It's a complete and utter lie. So everything on Google is some politically controlled situation. And why is that? Is that because Democrats love China? No, it's money talks, dude. And the Chinese government and their wolf tactics spends a lot of money to get people to do what they want and say what they want. They don't like embarrassment. They want everything to look good. That's why they literally painted their grass green for the frickin' Olympics because of their pride. They're like a bunch of damn kids over there. And every day they act and do things like that. So there's a lot of spin, there's a lot of nonsense. Like, for instance, we had a lady who was arrested. in China, a Chinese reporter, because she put news out a few hours before she was supposed to. That's it. She made a mistake and put the news out sooner than she was supposed to. 4 years in jail. Okay.
Yeah.
She got out of jail. She escaped. She went to Australia, and of course, the Australians are honoring her because that's bullshit, right? And what does China do? They send up a bunch of their agents, which is what they do, by the way, to stand in the way of the camera and block it, and just be general nuisances because they don't want any kind of love being showed to this woman who was abused by the CCP. They do this all
Right.
over the world. Anytime you see China that is involved in anything, a lot of those people waving flags have been paid to be there. This is not organic or natural. It's how China does. So, yes, Google is shit. So go somewhere else. Hey, Thundero.
Hola, can you hear me now?
I can. You're super clear too, and thank you for letting me have my rant. I got,
You're
I'm
welcome.
all
You're welcome.
excited and exuberant now. I'm like a little
No, I
kid.
think my wireless headset's mic has finally taken a crapper because I
Well,
even
yeah.
I even did I was like, what is going on? And I even did a recording, just on my computer, just a basic recording, and I played it back, and even there it was going clack 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 clack. Clack. I was like, oh, well, that's not how that's supposed to sound at all.
Mm-mm.
So I'm using the good mic now. We get the good mic, Thundaro, tonight. The
Oh,
problem with the
very
good
good.
mic is it's very stationary. I can't move around as much, and I have to, in order to use this headset, I have to plug it in then
Mm-hmm,
in
mm-hmm.
order to use this
Yeah, yeah.
mic.
That's what
So
I do.
it's a whole thing. It's a
Yeah,
whole thing.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well, the direct input, those old analogy things work better. Shocking
they do.
that. But you did sound like John Connor calling back from the future to warn of the impending Terminator
Well,
doom. You did.
I have been doing that for years now. That it's coming,
It is.
and if
Yeah.
people don't get serious real quick and in a hurry, it's gonna sweep us all away.
Well, I'm not me. I'm good. And no, I'm in a country that has
They've
none of
got
those
their
problems, and I got
eyes
a.
on Japan.
They do, but I got
Japan's
a
letting in
badass army around me, dude.
850,000 migrants from where they're from. They're not from Europe. They're not from Asia.
Oh, they're
They
not
from
coming in here.
Africa.
They're not coming
Oh,
in
yes,
here.
they are.
Oh no, they're not. I guarantee
Maybe
you,
not.
they're not.
Maybe not your island, but they are coming into Japan.
No, 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 no. Japanese won't stand for it. They won't. It'll be a freaking uprising, because they already had a thing where they were bringing workers in. Actual legitimate workers. I
Yes,
think it's a 3-year thing.
that's how
You
it
know,
starts. Yep.
that's how it starts. Uh, and of course people are like, oh well, we need workers, and they people just being Japanese, they sat back and did nothing. However. Immediately, some of these migrants, these are actual migrants, right? Not
Yep.
immigrants, migrants, and they causing trouble, and the Japanese don't like it. You know what helped out a lot? Some American Karens came over because the yen's kind of weak right now. So
Hmm.
some American Karens came over being absolute Karens, and the Japanese have
Excellent.
literally revolted. The Japanese are kind of pissed off about a bunch of things. Like Ubisoft put a black man instead of a
That's right.
Japanese man in a samurai game. They didn't care
That's
for that
correct.
very
And
much.
then they had said black man walk around Japanese villages and cities and things, just murdering Japanese people because he could.
Which he didn't do.
Um,
He was in one fight, he lost. He was here for less than a year. Just keep that in mind.
yeah, he got this
I've
large
been here
African
20
man.
times longer.
This large African man got absolutely raffle stomped. I'm gonna bring back the old raffle stomped by
Hmm.
probably a 5'5" Japanese man. Is what happened.
Man, those
He got
samurai
beat.
trained from like little though, like four or
Yeah,
five,
they were
dude.
they were the real deal.
They
They weren't
were.
messing around.
Yeah.
And that the blade in their hand, that sword is a force multiplier and equalizer.
Right. Well,
So
keep in mind that fight he was in was an honor fight.
yeah,
Therefore, they were using Boken. So I don't know what kind of injury he took. He might have took some contusions. He could have had a broken bone or a finger or an arm, possibly. But it wasn't a fatal fight, right? So he walked away
right.
and he left Japan. He lived.
Yeah,
In normal fights, in an actual samurai. This is another example why he's not a samurai. Is the fact that he lost the fight and didn't do seppuku.
that's right. didn't gut himself like a fish.
Right,
That's
which
correct.
is the
Yeah.
stupidest thing. Understand this: the death cult of the
Oh,
samurai is stupid.
absolutely.
It's stupid
It's
as
one of the
shit.
reasons recommend that Shogun show because the English or not, well, he's English, but the Englishman
Hmm.
is very aghast and appalled at how much death is
Waste.
just
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. It's wasted, it's wasteful, and how much they just don't seem to care about life. It's
yeah.
just it doesn't
And
matter. It's secondary to them, and he can't stand it.
you know
Right?
the funny
His
thing
English
is,
sensibilities can't stand it.
living in modern Japan, the word for wasteful here in Japan is mottainai. Mottainai.
Hmm.
And the Japanese use it all the time. There's a few words, phrases they use a lot that they don't. They probably overuse them. Mottainai is one of them. And if you live here and you look at modern Japan, they don't like mottainai. They don't like wastefulness at all. And I
Yeah,
agree. I'm a New Englander. We don't like waste at all. We're very against it.
no
And
wasting.
it's hard to. And there's certain cultures in the world that are extremely wasteful and don't care, right?
That's right.
But it's hard to put this culture with that culture, even though it's the same people and the same
Yep,
culture. It's hard to imagine that that was the way because it was.
yep.
It's
It
weird.
was. I think. Well, obviously the samurai were very extreme and way over the top with it. I do think the martialized honor is very important to a society, and
It
once
can be.
Japan lost that,
Yeah,
I think Japan lost a huge portion of its national identity.
it
And
did.
I would say that's probably one of the main reasons you're having well, just like America is, a birth rate crisis. Is people don't know who
Yeah,
they are anymore.
they
They've
don't.
forgotten.
There's no patriotism. There's no
Yep.
nationalism whatsoever. The young girls don't seem to understand the concept that this country allows you a incredible amount of freedom
An
and the
unbelievable life.
opportunity for prosperity, right?
Yep.
Therefore, you have a responsibility, a duty to your country for what it offers you, right?
Yes.
And they don't see any of that. So they're a bunch of little selfish little girls that just
Yep.
walk around and have their little parfaits that they Instagram with and then throw it away because you can't put weight on, right?
That's right. Yep.
Because Japanese girls are skinny as rails. They dress like frickin' Minionites, right?
Yes.
You don't see any skin, any shape, any curves whatsoever. There ain't no sexiness here. None, right? So they're not doing anything to catch the boy's eye. They're not doing any of that, and they don't care. And a lot of the girls, if you ask them why they don't want to get married, why they're not getting married and having kids, it's because like, oh, it takes my free time away.
Yep.
That's their
That's correct.
excuse. They don't want they don't want their personal time interrupted.
The good news is, as the great book says, for everything there is a season.
Of course.
I think this season of narcissistic selfishness is ending. And it's starting to happen all over the world. That's why you're seeing a shift back towards more actual right wing
Yeah.
politics,
Yeah.
because that realm
That's
is
true.
less
No,
narcissism.
no.
It's more conceit, which is a problem, but it's less
Right.
narcissism and me me
Well,
me 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 me.
right. And we did see it here in Japan. It's just Japanese version, right? They're not as
Mhm.
extreme as Western
Yeah.
people. So we have seen it. But you're right. We'll have this shift back. Actually, Dave's asking if I've ever talked about the Johnny Somali guy. Well, he's an idiot, just like so many of
Yeah.
those idiot TikTokers
Yeah.
looking for clicks. But
You
what
know, I noticed, Chester, they don't ever go to Singapore and try that. That's interesting. I can't imagine why.
or Dallas, right? Or
They don't ever
or
cause trouble in
or
Singapore.
Mobile. Yeah. Yeah, go try that over there. But no, what happened with this guy is this. He was irritating the Japanese people, but the Japanese people are meant to be polite and quiet, and the police. You don't want to come afoul of the police if you're a Japanese person. If you're a Western person, it could be bad too. But they're
Yep.
way more patient with foreigners, right?
Right.
Because you got to understand, in most places in the world, and Asia to an extreme point, they look at you as lesser. Now, even if
That's
it's
correct.
not from a mean, hateful point of view, they look at you as lesser.
That's
Keep in mind when this show he's talking about with Shogun, when all these foreigners started coming to Japan and trading and doing stuff, the Japanese called them all barbarians, and of course, in the
that's
reality, they were the barbarians,
yes.
right?
Yes.
But it's just
By all
Asian thinking.
metrics you could measure, yes.
Right, but all countries kind of look this way upon you if you're not native, right? But
Yes.
the
As they
Somali
should,
guy,
to be
yeah, and
honest.
that's fine.
It's a safety mechanism.
Yeah, it
You
is.
don't
It's
know.
tribalism,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So they tend to give us foreigners more leeway, right? So this Johnny Somali guy, he got away with it for a while, and there were complaints. The news was talking about it, but the police didn't do anything. When they
Mhm.
reacted was when a foreigner, a white dude, had enough of his shit and KO'd him in the street, knocked his ass out for being a
As he
dick,
should have. Yep.
right?
Yep. Good.
That's when the Japanese responded because now they're embarrassed. A foreigner
Right.
had to deal with their problem. Oh, that's not good. So then they responded. But they even then they weren't harsh. They basically just, put him in prison for a little teeny short bit of time and then
Right.
kicked him out of the country. And then went over to Israel doing his shit and he immediately got dealt with by the cops. Right? I mean so this Somali guy, he's just bruising, a cruising for a bruising. But it's like that British black boy, the young boy, up there just walking in people's houses and sitting in their front room. That jackass, right? And then
I
Piers
think I'm
Morgan
back.
gave him. You are back. Piers
Okay.
Morgan gave him a venue to talk to him. He wanted to chastise him, but that kid was just glowing, right? He should have never
Yeah.
put him on the show. But
Yeah,
he's
that's what he
just a
wanted.
moron. Yeah,
That's what he wanted.
yeah.
He's just a moron who genuinely needs a proper ass beating.
He just needs an ass
'Cause
whooping, and,
yeah,
and
he's
yeah,
clearly never had one. Not a real one.
because he
Maybe
didn't
he
have
got
any
roughed
real
up
friends
here or
around
there,
him.
but no.
That's why.
Yeah, he's
Um,
never been checked, and he just
yeah,
needs checked. And it's a shame that the Japanese, I'm just gonna say it, have become so soft that nobody there would check him. That it took a white
well,
boy,
the
a
white boy
foreigner to
checked his
do it.
ass,
Yeah,
knocked him clean out.
that's
Yeah,
that's a problem. And you want to fix the birth rates everywhere. Men got to stop being afraid to
being the
punch
men.
somebody in the
Yeah, yeah,
face.
yeah.
Just blast them in the face.
Seriously. I mean, because and the problem is the West has told black people that they're so special and untouchable,
That's right. Yeah,
and,
yeah.
and this is why
Untouchable.
we see these
No,
black guys doing this.
nothing they do is wrong.
They're perfect
It's
little
someone
angels.
else's
Yeah,
fault. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Now keep in mind,
I don't personally play that game, and mostly I would say most of America doesn't play that game. It's just the super liberal cities
yeah,
that
and
play
that's
that
all
game.
you see. All we hear
Yeah,
is the cacophony
yeah,
of the 20%, right? That's all we
right.
hear. Of course, most of America is normal. I mean, shit. The
Yeah.
NASCAR is the biggest spectator sport in the country. I
Well,
mean,
you know how you were saying, you're duty bound to do X, Y, and
you
Z
are,
in a
you are,
country, free or not, you're still duty bound to your ancestors, I would say.
unless your
But
country sucks so bad that you want to
yeah,
escape
if
it,
it's a
right?
well, yes. But let's say, for instance, you're in America and everything you use is as long as it's not in your home or in someone else's home is part of what is known as the commons. Commons is a
Sure.
very old. It's literally civilization basically itself. The
Well,
concept
commons and
is
common law, yeah,
yes. And if you cannot, while in the commons, have the decency to at the very least return the things that you use back to a place where you received them
yeah,
so that others can use them, then you will never be free. It's that simple. Because that's all it takes. It takes very little in America if the government stays out of your way, which that's a problem. That's a problem that needs dealt with. But let's ignore them for a second. In your day to day life, most likely the government's not getting in your way. Most likely.
right,
Even today, they're not in your way. So if you're not doing on your own your duty as a person to your nation, to your country, to your fellow people, not even to that concept, to the people
just
who
your
live
society,
around you,
yeah,
your neighbors, if you cannot just do simple things like, put your shopping cart back or make sure you don't leave a bigger mess than you found a place if you can. Don't do things like leave if you go to a restaurant. Don't leave it a mess. Don't cause a scene. Don't cause trouble. These sorts of things are not yours. I don't care what you paid for. That's fantastic. That doesn't mean you get to be an inconsiderate prick.
right. Well,
So
one of the big
stop it.
things about the left is I, me, my, e.
Yeah,
It's
that's right.
that's all they talk
That's right.
about, right?
And
But
that's why you're seeing the shift back. It's not, see, people have misinterpreted it. We have gone from the boomer generation, especially, they were the most selfish, self centered generation probably in the history of this country. Probably. So they raised two generations, really three generations of people to think very similar to them. That what matters is you, get what you can, doesn't really matter if you step over other people to do it, none of that matters. because me.
Right, right, and I
Okay,
rejected it because I early
yeah,
realized that my mother was a princess.
that's right. And some people have rejected it. I've largely. It took me a long time. I was raised as the baby of my family, and I was spoiled to hell when it
Sure.
came to material things. Anything I wanted, they would get it for me, even if I didn't ask sometimes. However, as I got older, I realized that that's just not right. It's
No.
not right to live your life that way. There's a reason why all great philosophies and religions hate, not just oh, it's not no, hate pride and arrogance
Yep.
and selfishness.
Yep.
These are the tantamount sins in every religion. All of them. There's not an exception.
Yeah.
Because the reality is your life is incredibly fleeting and for the most part doesn't matter to the grand scheme. So you have a duty to at least make it matter enough that you're
Sure.
not a hindrance to others.
That's right.
That's all you got to do.
It's the pay it forward concept, right?
Yes.
I mean, you have
Correct.
a responsibility to your nation, and like I said, unless it's just horribly oppressive and you want to escape it, but
Yes.
if that offers you peace and the opportunity for prosperity and happiness and all that kind of stuff, you have a responsibility to your country. And the
I
basic
agree.
concept of just pay it forward is really
Right.
enough. Some people go above
Some
and beyond that, but
Some would say that I mean, there's an argument. I disagree with this argument in America, especially. We'll get into that in a second. That even to the point of serving in some sort of public service, whether it's the military or some other public service like that. And I don't necessarily disagree with that in theory. The only reason I disagree with it in practice today is because our government is pure evil. It's just evil. And it
well,
sends people off
unfortunately,
to kill millions of people in the last 20 years.
yeah, it's a
And nobody
juggernaut.
wants to talk about it. But the truth of the matter is, the United States government sent our military to kill at least 1 million Middle Easterners. At
I'd
least,
say it's
minimum.
probably closer to 10, but okay.
Yes. I'm being very generous. At least, I mean, a million's enough. Ten's even worse in the last 20 years.
Well, honestly, 10 people is enough, in my opinion.
Yes,
But
exactly.
especially
And that's
because the
my point.
purpose for it was all based upon petrodollar, which I'm going to get
Now,
into in a minute here.
if I lived in a place like Japan that has a government that's not responsible for that in my lifetime anyway, that sort of stuff. They
Certainly.
have in the past, sure, but not now. Um, then that's a different story. Then I could make the argument with a clearer conscience that yeah, you have a moral duty to do something to
Yeah,
better
sure.
your society. It doesn't have to be a
No,
lot. You don't have to be Elon Musk.
but
You don't
we,
have to be
but
Roosevelt, right? You just have to
right.
do something.
Well, now keep in mind though, Japan does not have the concept of pay it forward at all. There's no
Correct.
recompense for your actions here, none.
Yeah.
Now, I believe in what I say, and I do. I live the way I speak. I'm not bullshitting you, right? Now,
Hmm.
I might exaggerate a story here or there to make it more entertaining, but I am not bullshitting you. Right, and I live the way I speak, and I do all kind of volunteer stuff, and I know right well I will get zero recompense because Japan has no
Correct.
concept of pay it forward. Therefore, me doing volunteer stuff gets me nothing. It gets me nothing. But I do it
Right.
anyway because it's the right thing to do, right?
That's right.
From my philosophy.
Very European of you, Chester.
Yeah, well,
Uh,
I don't wear turtlenecks
because
though, so fuck off.
as much as Japan is admired by a
Come
lot of
here, European.
Westerners, and rightfully so, it's a
Southern.
a functioning, clean, modern society. One of the few that exists, if we're being honest.
It is
Uh,
functional, yeah. Did you hear what
but
he called me a European, Dave?
well, I mean, you
Yell at
are
him.
you are of European descent.
Well, that's true.
Uh,
Oh no,
but my
do
point
the
is,
Norwegians count? Are we European?
a lot nowhere else in the world, except for in brief stints in history, has the concept of truth before face become so ingrained into our very basic moral ethos to the point where what you're talking about they don't even consider it. They still do the things they're supposed to do, but they're not doing it for they don't expect anything. They just do it because that's what they should do,
Right.
like put their shopping carts back, for instance.
Oh, sure.
uh that kind of stuff they just do because they're basically flesh automatons,
I think
and
if
that's
you
okay.
didn't put your shopping cart back here in Japan, I don't know what the Japanese. I think they would just stand there dumbfounded. I don't know that
They,
they would understand what was
their
happening.
brain would glitch that you didn't do it.
It would
uh
glitch because it's like an automatic thing, right?
yes.
But let me rant for a second, if I might.
Go ahead.
I might have said this last week. I don't know, but I'm going to say it again, and I won't do it next week. But
Uh-oh.
it's something very important you guys need to hear, and you need to listen to it. Right now, there are more astute people and stuff, and you can go research this on your own. You should, but you have to understand something very simply. Um, Saudi Arabia did not renew its contract, its treaty with America to sell only in petrodollars a week or so ago. And now, and the American government didn't immediately bomb Saudi Arabia, which is what we do, right? Because the Biden administration, right? And
Well, and can't,
not,
but yes.
well, not only did Saudi Arabia start selling in a multi-currency, type of environment, they've also announced that they will be joining the BRICS. Now, keep in mind, as we stand now, half of the planet is either a member of BRICS or in the process of becoming a member of BRICS. Half,
Yep.
half. Okay. The petrodollar is dead, and that is a huge thing. You don't understand the reason why America can print money willy-nilly like we do is because of the petrodollar. Because
That's
everyone
right.
is spending in dollars. Now that's going to change. The BRICS nations aren't going to spend in dollars at all. That's the whole point of them getting together. So half of the world is not going to be using dollars at all. They've all agreed to a multi-currency thing, and the reason they did that is because fuck you, China. But nevertheless, China's part of it. But they're not going to be using the yuan, which China wanted. But they're going to be
Which is
trading
good.
in their own currencies amongst each other, right?
Yes.
Now, this is such a staggering event. No one's talking about the fact that now America has to earn it. And Trump knows this. He's made some comments along the way, but he realized that the Biden administration just screwed it up. So instead of him just bemoaning it, which I'm sure we'll hear it once or twice on the campaign trail, what he's doing is saying, "All right, well, America's got to be competitive now," which is something he understands. And he's talking
Yep.
about how we can be competitive. So now this whole Trump idea of make America great again, bring business back to America, make America a place of manufacturing and production, a giant, which we used to be, that is
Yep.
vitally important now. It is vitally important. Now understand how bad this is. Japan, just a few days ago, right? Just a few days ago, Japan sold off $68 billion worth of American bonds.
Oof.
Now, understand, now this is something that a lot of people don't know. I think these days, a lot of people think China holds the biggest American debt. It's not even close. Japan holds the largest American debt.
Correct.
If Japan comes knocking and starts selling all, they could sell a lot more than 68 billion. Trust that. They could sell
Mm-hmm.
trillions. And if they come knocking saying, and the bankers were very clear why they did it. And the reason they did it was because the American bonds are not producing any money. America is unviable. It's just waste
Correct.
to hold it. So
Insolvent.
it's insolvent. And you could see that, and the Japanese are very practical and pedantic, right?
Yep.
If they basically sell off all those bonds and which is where how they make they hold their debt, right, is through bonds, right?
Yep.
If they sell off all those bonds, America can't pay that.
No. No.
And
That's
who
a
are they
default.
selling these bonds to? That's another thing, right? What if
Yep.
they sell these bonds to a country who's going to really, really make it hurt for America? And they might well do it because the simple fact, if I've heard murmuring here in Japan about Japan joining BRICS. If Japan joins BRICS, game over.
Yep.
Game over.
Well, that that might trigger an actual war.
Hmm.
Uh, that's a
It
bad.
might.
I hope they don't actually do it because one, they don't need to get in bed anymore with China than they already are. Nobody
Yeah, but
does, in
they're the
fact.
ones that have to deal with China. They're right next to us, dude.
Yes, exactly. How do you think China's going to behave once they got them? Once they're
Yeah.
basically a client state?
Well, yeah, but I think the maneuver is more toward Russia and India, not China,
Well,
right? Now,
exactly. That's what I'm saying. What do you think Ukraine's really about? It's not about. They don't care if he
Ukraine's
invades
about
Ukraine.
$12 trillion in nickel,
Yes,
cobalt,
and
and
it's
lithium.
also about the American hegemon trying to maintain its ability to hurt
Sure.
anybody who steps out of line.
Right. The
And they're failing.
petrodollar, but it's dead
They're
because
failing miserably, in
the
fact.
Biden administration let the ball drop. They dropped the ball.
Yep,
Plain and
yep.
simple, and they're too dumb to know what they've done. It's just insane in a 3 year period what they've managed to destroy. It's shocking, and of course, I would argue that this is the plan anyway, right?
Yes.
Because they work for the Bilderberg Group. The Bilderberg Group is a giant banking organization.
America has to go.
Yeah, because they
That's it.
want global control, because they think there's too many people. We got to kill
The
them off.
problem,
We got to have ultimate control. That's their goal. And they say it
the
out loud, by
problem,
the way. This isn't secret.
the problem they're going to run into is Americans.
Hmm.
You see, we talk about the
That's true.
U.S., the government, the country. We talk about all the people who live here. We're a big multicultural thing. Blah blah blah. That's all well and good. The real American, the spirit of America, as we call it, and if we're being poetic, that's all well and good. What it really is bastards. America is full of a bunch of cantankerous bastards who will just simply tell you no because they can.
Hmm.
That's it. The answer's no. I don't
I'm
care.
a
Come shoot me
perfect
then.
example. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
we are full of those. And
Oh, yeah.
that is the real American nation. Everybody else who lives here, that's great. We're glad you're here. Just behave. But the real American nation is that group of bastards. That's
Yeah.
who built this place.
Yeah.
That's who carved the
And
wilderness into the world's strongest country. And then they were spit on and shit on for the last 100 years, to be
well,
honest. But really,
still, the
still to
Europeans
this
still
day,
look down on us. It's
yes,
shocking, but they do. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And those people aren't just going to go away because the U.S. government defaults, which is what's going to probably happen.
Probably.
Uh,
Yeah.
they're not. They don't just disappear because some idiot in D.C. makes a bunch of financial oopsie-daisies.
No, they hunker down, is
That's
what they do.
the
Yeah.
real wealth of this country.
Yeah.
There's two things that are irreplaceable in America: the American and the land. The farmland is still the best farmland. The ports are still the best ports. They're just not being used.
Oh, and the
We
untouched
have the
resources. Yeah.
We have unbelievable resources. It's ridiculous. We don't even know. We don't even actually know. We know like 5%
Yeah.
because
We
we don't
haven't.
do, they're not allowed to survey
They're
anymore.
not
They
allowed
don't
to
go check.
survey. Yeah. But this explains now, if you look at the bigger picture, why put a chick in it, make it gay, right? Why are they doing? They're
Yes.
trying to make
Yeah.
the American man homosexual, effeminate,
Weaken him.
soft.
Yeah.
That's the
And
goal. That's why these
largely it's
companies will
worked,
lose
to be honest.
billions and billions of dollars to
Yeah, I think
send this
largely
man.
it's worked. I think so many of like there's not only is there a testosterone crisis in America and the West in general, probably the whole world really, but definitely in America, there's also just a toughness crisis. A lot of men are real fucking soft now.
Yeah.
But the problem is, you see, we always had some softies, right? And they were fine. They
Of
usually
course you
lived
do.
in the cities and wrote stupid little things for newspapers that, other softies read. While the real men were out doing real work. Um, that's all well and good. The problem is we've because of things like white flight and urbanization and things where that those bastard men who still, like I said, they're still very real. All left the cities by and large. They ran away because they were tired of the nonsense. Went out to the countries, built their own little communities out there, or went out and just became, lived on big farmland or whatever.
Homesteaders. Yeah.
Yes,
Lots of
those
homesteaders.
people
Yeah.
used to be the backbone of the American military. The reason why America's military was it's not even close. For 50 years they were the absolute best fighting force on the planet. It wasn't even debatable. Like they were. Simple, done, easy. That doesn't mean they always won, quote unquote, but it definitely mean their kill ratio was insane. Insane because they're the
Yeah, the
best fighting
American
force on
Marine
the planet.
don't mess with that. That's true.
Yeah, and that was mostly the vast majority of that was American farm boys. That's who it
Yep.
was. A bunch of white boys
Yep.
from somewhere in either the South or rural Midwest or the rural West who grew up tough and hard, grew up probably constantly fighting each other, and grew up raising some form of animal or some form of crop. That's how they lived their life, and that's just who they were.
Sure.
That's done. One, they've done everything they can to disenfranchise that particular group,
Oh,
everything
yeah,
they
they don't
can,
like the
to the
farmers.
point
Yeah.
where the big companies now refuse to even hire those people. You're not getting a job at a big Fortune 500 unless it's like some meaningless, nothing, nowhere, go nowhere, dead end job maybe. But you're
Yeah.
not going to get anywhere up on the chain. There ain't no way.
Hillbilly elegy is not reality. Yeah.
Yes, and that is the problem. That's the American nation. It's not just white farm boys, bunch of black farm boys, bunch of Mexican farm boys as well, vaqueros, also bad motherfuckers who have made up the American military for a very, very long
Right.
time.
Yeah.
And they're not recruiting anymore. They're just,
No.
nah, I'm good.
Well,
I'm
keep
not
in
interested.
mind, Hezbollah, which Hezbollah is not actually the government of Lebanon, although the
Correct.
government of Lebanon is so weak and corrupt that it has no control over Hezbollah. But understand that Hezbollah, a terrorist group living inside what used to be a beautiful country, has a larger standing army than the United States of America.
Correct.
Can you
And
did you
most
hear
of
what I
our
just
army,
said? What? We
most of
have
our military,
330 million people in America, and we can't
that's
have
right.
a larger standing army than frickin'
No.
terrorist Hezbollah.
And the vast majority of our army and our military in general are non-combat. The vast majority. They're not military job, the soldiering.
College
The
fund.
rest
Yeah.
of it, yeah, the rest of it is basically just a college fund. A couple of my buddies joined the Air Force and whatnot, and they said it was just like working a job. There was really no difference. Yeah, I had to wear a uniform, a military style uniform, but other than that, I just came in, clocked in, did my job, and went home. It was
Sure.
very little difference. And this was during all of the wars. Like I'm that age. I would have if I would have signed up like I was going to, I would have been potentially shipped over. Uh, so the military has become basically a big jobs program. It's not really a military anymore. And that's a serious problem because our allies are turning on us.
They
Just
are.
call it what it is. And they should. We deserve
Yeah.
it. The
Or
truth of the
being
matter
or
is,
being
we
intimidated
deserve it.
into it. Yeah.
Yeah. We deserve what's happening when it comes to the loss of the reserve currency because we have abused that power. We've abused the hell out of that power, and now the world's tired of it.
Yeah.
That's it. They're just
Well, you
tired
know
of it.
who's really tired of it? Putin.
Yes.
Putin is tired of it, dude. He's been the only person that's been calling for peace for this entire year of this nonsense. Nobody else, just him. He's offered peace several times, and they literally
Yep.
laugh in his face. Literally, right? Well, South Korea was talking about sending money and even weapons to Ukraine. So what did Putin do? Came on down to North Korea, had a little meeting with the baby Kim, drove in a car with them, looked like they had a good old fun time. But his whole point was to say this: if South Korea sends weapons to Ukraine, I will give weapons to North Korea.
Yep. Correct.
Wow.
Which, by the way, when Trump was president, he had that whole thing under control
He did.
and on the
He did.
path to being actually solved.
He did. Yeah.
And
That's what I mean.
oops.
It's shocking 3 years that what they've done. It's shocking, dude.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
If 2020 hadn't gone the way it did, that's how as nice as I'll put it. I think we would have had a completely different situation in Korea. Like right now, I think he would. I think it would have been basically
They were talking
handled.
about unification, dude.
Yeah, openly and honestly, actually, not
They
just one
actually
side
came
saying
to
it, not tongue in cheek. They
right.
shook hands. They were for real on it for
They were.
once,
And they came
and it
together and
seemed
they
like
ended the conflict under Trump.
yes,
You know.
yep, the longest war in American history officially ended under
Hmm.
Donald Trump. Does he get any credit for it? No,
No.
nope,
No, no.
nope.
Of course, they laugh at him, and they
Yep,
joke about him stepping over the border and all that kind of nonsense. But he went and did it. And this is the thing when they call him the people's president, and of course the Democrats laugh at that and they just make any kind of mockery they can, as what they always do. But the
that's
simple
right.
fact of the matter is, when that man goes up and stands in amongst the people, they love him. I don't care where he goes. He go
Yep,
into Democrat heartland, which
he
he
goes into
has
New York
recently.
City.
Yeah,
Yeah, they
in
love him.
Philadelphia. They love him because he knows how to talk to people. He knows how to
That's right.
endear with them.
Yep.
We saw the photo op, which he only did because of Chuck Schumer, but he went into the frat party and picked and flipped the burger, showed everybody he was doing. It's just a photo op. It's just a photo op, right? It's
Donald Trump's never made himself a burger in his whole
no,
damn life.
no. Well, you never know. He might cook it on his own. But no, I mean it's a
No,
photo op.
oh, come
It's
on.
well, but it's a clear photo op, right?
Yep.
But yet they love him for it. This is the thing they
Yes.
don't get about Trump. The people just love Trump, and everybody there knows it's a photo op. We all
Yeah.
get it, right? But it's
That's
still,
what Democrats don't understand because they're like, but he's a liar and he's a this. Yeah,
yeah.
we
So,
get it.
yeah,
We're not confused.
yeah,
We understand. This is how much we hate you. Do you
yeah.
understand? It's his love is directly proportional to the people who hate you. The vast majority of people in America loathe the government.
Yeah.
It's not just, oh, they're annoying, oh, no, 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 no. It doesn't matter what race you are. It doesn't matter what demographic you're in, wealth, whatever. You can find a very large percentage, maybe even a majority, depending, of people. If you talk to them for long enough, they hate the government. It's not like, some other countries where there's a little bit of respect, or no, that's all fake in America for most people.
Mm.
Most people would much rather tell the government to completely go fuck off. Entirely.
Well, shit. We
Entirely.
were saying that in my generation. Freaking Ronald Reagan
Yes.
said it.
Yes. Because that is freedom. You are not free if you cannot say no.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
I don't care what you want, how you want to dress it up. The truth is, freedom equals the power of no.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well,
That's it.
it was kind of interesting thing that happened last week where they made the signing up for the draft an automatic thing.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about it because when I was 18, of course, I was told, and I went down to the post office and I registered for the draft, right? Just like
Right.
everybody else. You
Yep.
probably
I
did the
did too.
same thing. But
Yep.
the thing is, I didn't think about it then because I didn't think anything of it. I just did it. But I was thinking now that they did that, I was like, why wasn't that always the way? I mean, it is a law. You have to do it. So why isn't it automatically done? I don't
Um,
know. I don't get it. You know, it should
if
have.
I had to guess, it's because we used to live in a much more high trust society where you didn't have to put an or else on the end of things. People
No,
like
that's
how in
true.
Japan people
Like
just put
here.
stuff
Yeah.
back. Yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't need that. Now you
Well,
do. And guess what? It still ain't working. People still
okay.
ain't they don't care.
Let me give an example of how far Japan is away from America.
Yeah.
Now here in Japan, they have a certain type of business that I just don't know if there's any place in America other than some like little Amish village that this would work in. But
Yeah.
all across Japan, what they'll do is you'll have some seller produce a good, maybe a vegetable or fruit, usually, and they'll put it in this little roadside kiosk, right? And the product is just sitting inside like a little kiosk, a little mini building, and you come up, you take what you want. There's a list of prices. You take your money, you put it in a little box. Now, not only does no one not pay for the thing they just took, no one takes the box. The box isn't even chained down. It's just there.
Yeah.
Now, that's Japan, right? And it's they couldn't conceive of anything differently, nor should they. That should be normal, right? But you tell me a place in America you could have a business where you put all your apples or strawberries up and people go and take them and put the money voluntarily into the box and no one takes the box and no one just steals the stuff and walks away. You tell me where you can do that. Now, when I was
Oof.
young, there were some places, but how about now?
You can do it in some small towns still. Uh, some of the small towns that I grew up around, you could probably get away with it. I know you could actually. I remember people doing it. But yeah, anything above a town,
Yeah.
a small town, no, no, there ain't no way. It don't matter what demographic it is, what race it is. Now, it'll be worse in certain places, but no, there's no way. There's too much debauchery and degeneracy. There's
Yeah.
too much me out there. Uh, and the only way that's getting better, and I'm seeing it get better. If you pay attention to social media and stuff, you can see these younger men. I'm telling you, they remind me of my grandfather. That's who they remind me of, and they're in their 20s. They have a completely different worldview from my generation and your generation, and probably the generation before that, because they understand that the abundance is over. That's done.
Yeah.
America can't do it anymore. So that's a total tonal shift in the way you think as a young man. Because as a young man, unless you're just a complete degenerate, you're thinking about the future, right? You're trying to at least suss it out so you can make the moves you got to make. Uh, and I would say a lot of these young men, a lot of these Gen Z, not all of them, not even a majority, but enough, are very conscientious about these things.
Yep.
Very conscientious. And
Yep.
they're paying attention and they're engaged. Now, I would say some people are scamming them and lead them astray,
Probably.
which is always happens. And there's some people who are telling them things that aren't totally true, which always happens. But the fact that they're already in this state of questioning, like I've never seen ever,
Yep. Well, it
is
also
very
explains why
interesting.
someone like Andrew Tate, who is a bit of a
Yeah.
scumbag, let's be fair. right?
Yeah.
But why someone like Andrew Tate is so radically popular? He's world
Yep.
level popular. My son likes Andrew Tate.
He for one whole year was the most popular man in the entire world,
Yeah.
past every celebrity in
Um,
Hollywood. It wasn't even close,
and
actually.
what is he saying? I mean, if you think about what, because I went and paid attention to it because like, oh, what's this about? So I went and listened. And what he's doing is taking a little bit of the Jordan Peterson, Peterson thing, clean your goddamn room, right?
Yep.
And a little bit of truth about these modern whores, which they're not all, but
No,
the problem is they're the ones up there moving, right?
that's right.
And he put it together and he went out there and preached. And overall, I don't disagree with what Andrew Tate says at all because, well, yeah, you
That's
should
right.
be responsible for yourself. Go out there, get yourself in shape, make your life right. I mean, because you see a lot of bemoaning, but let's be fair, when it comes to a woman, why should a woman attach herself to you? Now, I'm not talking about all the other nonsense. Just to be very practical here, traditional. Why
Yep.
should a woman attach herself to you if you don't give a shit about keeping yourself in shape? You don't got your house in order.
Right.
You don't got a job. You ain't right. Why should she attach herself to you? Of course, she
Yeah.
shouldn't, right?
No.
So, what he's
Would
saying
you
is right. He's just
would
doing it in a
you
vulgar way.
and I don't mean you specifically, I mean you in general. As a man, if you had a daughter, would you want your daughter with a man like you? And if the answer is no, then what are you doing?
That's right.
What do you get
Well,
on it?
I want my
Get to
kids
work.
to do better than me. That's the
Yes.
goal, right?
Exactly. Exactly. That is should always be the goal to level up. We're all playing a rogue-like game out here. Rogue-like video game. We're gonna die. The only chance we have is our next generation to make things a little bit better for everybody else.
Right,
So make it better for them, set them up to succeed as best you can. That's supposed to be the whole point.
right.
But unfortunately, right around the 60s, we had this generation of people called the boomers who didn't have that idea, at least in the majority of them. It was all about them, even until death. They're the ones out here who think they should spend all of their money, period, not set up anything for their children. I'm not saying you have to give them everything, but you could do something, help
Yeah.
them out, help them get the
Well, at
foot
least just
going.
educate them right. Right?
Yeah,
I
something.
taught my kids proper, right? Now
Right.
my daughter is a bit obstinate, but you know what? She does the right thing all the time.
That's right.
So she
She
does
just she
listen to
just argues
daddy in
about
the
it.
end. Right.
She just argues
She's
about
just
it.
belligerent, right? But she does it, right?
Yeah.
Because like with me, with my kids, with my son, he's very successful what he's doing, and because he did what I told him to do. Right? He
Yeah.
wanted to do the 4 years. I don't need a master's degree, Dad. I don't need it. And I'm like, I don't give a shit what you think. I'm paying for it. Get your ass in school. And he
Go
did.
do it. Why not? Why
And now,
not?
of course,
Man
now he's
for it.
thanking me
Shit.
because he's making way more money. And in the
Yeah.
long run, it'll take a little while, but in the long run, he'll make more money than me probably, at least
Yeah.
consistently, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Good.
putting aside my other ventures, just my normal stuff. And that's what I want. He married a girl who is very professional herself. She does work in the government with disabled people, but ultimately she wants to be a mom. She's a very traditional girl,
Yep.
very sweet. She's a lot like my wife, actually, and it's not.
That's
A
what
lot of
happens.
guys
Yeah.
do marry their
Yeah.
mom,
It's usually
right?
what happens. Yeah. Hmm.
So they have a good mom, right? So
Right.
he's set. Boom, he's moving. As long as he doesn't screw it up. And the biggest advice I give him every time I see him is don't be stupid, right?
Yeah. That's
I
right.
tell him
That's
this
the
all the
rule.
time. Don't be
Rule one:
stupid.
don't be stupid.
Yeah.
That's it.
And then my
That's simple.
daughter also has a good career, but
Yep.
she's marrying she's marrying Money Boy. So
Uh oh.
yeah, and he's super sweet, nice kid because she's dominant and he's a little not as much.
He's a
But
softie. I got
he's a bit
you. Yeah.
of a softie, but that's all right. You need one. You need both in
Yeah.
each
That's
relationship,
right.
right? So both my kids are working toward having a better life than I had, right? And
Good.
I had to work my ass off to get where I am. I had to
And you
struggle.
you own a sex mountain.
I do. But but I mean, I had to bust my ass, dude. Their
Yeah.
life, they're gonna be financially very stable, and they don't have to put in the effort and the stress and struggle that I had to put in. And that's the
Right. Which
goal.
is the point.
That's the
That
point.
that that should be the goal. Yes.
Hmm.
But the problem is, we had a whole generation of people who didn't see it that way, by and large. Like you see things, and yeah, I understand it is funny to poke at them a little bit, but you see some younger people in their mid 20s or whatever, and they're struggling. Now the reality is, a lot of us in our mid 20s was struggling. But they're struggling really, really hard. Now they have social media to vent to. So they get on like TikTok or Facebook or Twitter or whatever. They make a little video complaining about the cost of X, Y, and Z and how they just can't understand how they're going to do this the rest of their life. Well, the answer to that, sweetheart, is you're not. You're going to have to get your income up higher. But the truth of the matter is that venting is actually very, very healthy and very, very normal. But if you watch these things, you will always see usually older people, older even than you, Chester,
Huh.
who will get on there and start mocking them. And I'm like, guys, you raised these people. If they're soft, that's your fault. Why didn't you toughen them up? Why didn't you teach them some skills that they could multiply economically? Why didn't you do something to keep this from happening? But yet you see this all the time. And that is because that generation, and I'm crapping on them a little bit, but they deserve it. That generation took the wealthiest nation, the biggest treasure chest in the history of mankind that we know of,
Hmm.
and squandered it.
Hmm.
Squandered it. It's gone.
Yeah.
That America they grew up in was a paradise compared to the America even I grew up in, and my America was a paradise compared to America today. So they grew up in idyllic situation, most of them, and they bitched about it the whole time because it wasn't enough for them. And then as they came out of it, they became, they started to move up in the world.
It's true,
And
dude.
once they got into certain positions, they refuse to step aside. Refuse.
Yeah,
To the
that's a
point where
problem,
your
man.
generation is retiring young because they can't, there's no upward mobility because the boomers won't get the hell out of the way.
Yeah,
So they just,
well,
all right,
I'm
I'm just going to
retiring
retire.
young because I've earned it.
Well, yes, but you work for yourself. There's a difference there. I'm talking about people in like the corporate world or whatever. This is a serious issue that Gen X, they were raised. Funnily enough, they don't really complain too much on the internet. You'll see it every now and then,
Right.
but by and large, they're not out here bitching and moaning about it. They just quietly walk away, and that is unsustainable. We are very, very close. In the next 10 years, we're going to see the biggest transfer of wealth in the history of the world because the boomers hold like 60% of the entire planet's wealth, something
Sure.
like that.
Sure.
So once they all die, and they're gonna, whether they like it
They
or not,
already
even though they
are.
think they're immortal, that money is gonna filter down. The problem is, a lot of their children that they raised, they didn't teach them how to do a damn thing when it came to money. You know how little I was taught in school about money?
Yeah, it is
I
weird.
remember it was one class, and it was
It's
a
weird.
business math class. That's the only one that taught us how to balance a checkbook, do any of that kind of stuff. That is absurd.
Mhm.
What are we paying these schools for? You should, from the time you can do basic math,
Mhm.
have to learn how to handle
Well,
money.
no, that's true, and even here in Japan, they don't do, and I think which is bizarre. I
It is.
actually, in the high school kids in my classes, as any kind of theme doesn't matter, right? We're just getting them to speak and interact in English, and having different themes is good for different situations, right?
Yes.
It's just how you educate, right? In this case, a language. So I'll actually teach them. I'll have an economics lesson that teaches about bank accounts and how money works and where it goes and stuff like that. And the kids are, you would be surprised, but they're quite interested because no one's talked to them about this before. And of course, the boys know they need money, and the girls, all they think about is money, really.
Right.
I mean, so those when I do those kind of classes, they're actually quite successful. But it's weird that I, the foreigner, have to take the reins and teach them this because their
Yep.
school is not doing so.
Yep. I mean, there are a whole lot of people who I have heard. I've heard this story multiple times. That you turn 18, you turn 19, you start getting offers for credit cards and things because they're allowed to send them to you now. You're an adult,
Right.
and they'll get a credit card and they'll rack up $1,000 on it, and they think they've done a good thing. Right? This is
Yeah,
a
I
good thing,
saw
right?
that. Yeah, I saw
I'm
that.
building my credit. I'm like,
No,
no, no, no, that's not how that works.
no,
Uh,
no.
but they don't because they don't know. It's not their fault that they're ignorant. It's yours. Whoever was the adult in their life that didn't teach them about how to handle credit or to not at all if you can avoid it, uh,
Yeah.
is to blame. The only time, and I'm guilty of it just as any American is, the only time you really should ever take credit is if you are going to use that money to then finance more money, meaning you're going to use it for
Hmm.
a business or going to use it for something you can use to make more
Investment.
money with.
That's
Yeah,
right.
it's an investment, which is how the rich do it. The rich very
Sure.
rarely take loans for no reason. They take a loan because then they can avoid paying taxes or which is an investment for them anyway,
Sure.
or they can funnel it right into a business or into another
Well,
investment, and therefore pay it back very quickly.
because of the tax rules that we have in
Yeah,
our countries, what you have to do with a successful business is you have to find some way to spend money,
that's right.
right? And this reduces your tax burden. So if you want to, get more profit off your money, you have to invest the money into something involved in it. Better
Right.
classrooms, better supplies, better, that's why so many businesses have their own vehicle. Their company
Yep.
car. It's
Yep.
to invest money because by investing money in this way, you're lowering your tax burden, right?
That's right.
So this is a very standard thing all over the first world. And it's dumb when you think about it in the big picture. It's just greed, but it's something you have to do. And to keep in mind, as far as that credit card thing goes, I have a few different credit cards that are used for different things. But I have most of the credit cards I have I never use.
Right.
Right? Like I have a platinum card. Right?
Right.
Now, I don't know if you guys know what that means, but platinum card is, it's like some people would think of the black card, but that's a little bit different. But a platinum card is as big as it gets, and that
Right.
card gives me access to things. Like when I go to
Right.
an airport, I go to the executive lounge you don't even know exists.
Right.
Right. And all I got to do is just flash that card as I walk in. So it gives me access. It's also a card that I can buy anything I want anywhere. I want to buy a car, boom, I buy a car. I don't, but I could. So
Right.
now therefore, you would think having this highest level ranking of card, I must have ridiculous debt. I'm going to tell you my debt here. I'm sharing, right? So don't tell my wife. But my debt, I'm going to tell you when my debt is. You ready?
Yeah. Let's hear it.
Zero.
That's excellent.
I have no debt,
Phenomenally.
and I will kick
Right.
someone's ass if they make me have a fucking debt. You want to piss me off?
Put you in debt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
no,
No,
seriously.
it's a serious problem. It's why, like, in America right now, I think it's 70% of households do not have the ability to cover a $500 emergency. That's insane. That's third world shit, is
Yeah,
what that is. That's
yeah.
right on the verge of it.
And that's what that
And
card's for, for me.
yes, yeah, I have one too. That's all it's for. Every now and
It's
again, I'll put a
emergency.
charge on it just so they don't close it out, basically. But yes, uh, that is the only reason I have one of them for that
Yeah,
exact
no, I
reason.
think my wife pays something with it just so it has something on it. But because
Yeah,
it's one of those big cards, I get like free hotel rooms and all kind of stuff.
right.
Uh, well,
That's the other
she
thing a lot
does.
of
I
rich
don't pay
people
attention
do
to it.
is when you get it to a certain level, you incorporate yourself. Then you can get
Hmm.
finance debt on that incorporation,
That's right.
and you can use that in your business to pay for things for your
That is
business, and
big
you can
ass
also
money,
use
though.
it. Yeah, and you can also use it to get all sorts of freebies like free trips and
Yep.
free miles and
Yep.
da
Yep.
da 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 da
Yep.
da.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
Many times. I mean, now I know that my wife, we get a bunch of that kind of stuff, but she always saves those for like the big expensive resort stuff.
right.
Because I have every month I take a hotel trip, right, is what I call it. And basically, I'll just take my car, which I love driving, right? And
Hmm.
I'll drive to some distant city, get a hotel room, which of course, well, she gets it well beforehand because it's cheaper. But go to a city, get a hotel room, and just go to get lunch somewhere, and then go out to a night, get some food, maybe have some beer. Because usually I don't drink because I'm always driving, but in that situation, I don't have to. I'll go near the hotel. I do that all the time and maybe a little shopping. This is like every month I do that. And But I usually go to cheap shit. I'm frugal, right? I don't spend a crazy amount of money. It costs me like $300. I mean, if I asked you two guys, hi Grimlock, how much money do you spend on fun in a month?
In a well, define fun.
Well, something that's a luxury that you don't need.
Like even going out to eat. Do you
Sure,
include that?
absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, it depends on the month and the time of year because I live in hell. Uh, only well for 2 months of the year at least it's hell. It's frozen hell and then burning hell. But at the rest of the year it's pretty temperate. However, so it depends on that. But I would say If I had to guess, I could actually look if I wanted to.
Well,
I just
just a
don't feel like.
guess.
If I had to guess, it's probably in between $200 to $500 a month.
Okay.
If we're including going out to eat. If we're
Right,
not
right,
including it,
right.
it's way less than.
No, no, no. That's definitely luxury. You don't have to go out to eat. You can cook at home.
Yeah.
How about you, Grimlock? How much do you spend a month on, luxury stuff you don't need? Just fun stuff.
Um, well, over the last few years, because of other shit, I've spent a lot less on my hobby for various reasons.
Sure.
Um, a lot of it because they just ain't giving me shit to buy. I would say I'm probably spend most of my eating out, but part of it, it's kind of hard because part of it is because I work outside,
Hmm.
so when I'm out, it's like okay, if I'm running late, I'll just buy some dinner,
Right, right. But just a general number,
you
dude.
know. Uh, I would say probably close to what Dundaro said, like the low end, probably like $200.
Two,
Yeah.
300 bucks. Sure.
Every other month, I might buy some stuff to like if something comes out like in September when that damn Danny Ketch Ghost Rider finally comes out. I'm
Hmm.
definitely buying that.
Hmm. Okay, I understand. I understand. How about
Right?
you,
Yeah.
Tower?
I've
You're a
been
young
waiting
man.
30 years for that.
We got a young man in here with us, although he does
Oh
work with the
boy.
railroads. How about you, Tower? How much you spend a month on luxury stuff? Stuff you don't need to buy, going out to eat, buying a toy or something. How much you spend a month? You think, Tower? Tower? Did you butt
Did you-
dial us,
did-
Tower?
Oh, oh.
Oh, oh,
See, I
oh.
think it's
Is his mic
Discord. I
on?
think Discord's having a fit because his stuff's not working either. Yep, he's trying to get it to work. I see him muting and unmuting. I know that game. I played it earlier.
Yeah. Well, we'll see if he can work it out. Try to fix the Tower. But all right, now let's go over to me. What would you guys think I spend on luxury a month?
Testing, testing,
Oh,
testing.
there you go, Tower.
There you
So,
go.
so how much you spend
I'm
on
guessing
luxury
you
stuff a
spend.
month?
I'm guessing Justice spends 50.
When I was just me, probably like
Oh, you got a woman now. We
500
know. We want to
to.
hear the woman number. We
No,
don't care about
no,
just you.
no, not anymore, Chester. Not after this morning.
Not after
Oh,
this
jeez.
morning.
Oh shit!
Oh, well, that's all right. You're young. They're like that.
Yeah, they come and go.
They
They're
do.
not. They're not
And
worth
don't
getting sad
don't you
about.
sweat
Trust me.
that one bit, dude.
Yeah,
Um,
trust me.
no, seriously. I know you feel bad, but don't you sweat that. There's plenty
Yeah,
of them, dude. And
especially
most of
your
them
age,
are
you're
And
like
making
that.
good
here's the
money.
first one, and
You'll
we
be
were
fine.
together a year, so it's a
Yeah,
little
and I get
rough.
it, dude. I get it. And of course, you're a young man that has a good job, so you have money.
You'll be fine.
Well, but I'm just saying, don't you sweat that.
With the girlfriend, probably like 1,500 a month, maybe
See,
total.
Good God!
yeah. Well, to keep in mind, they DoorDash a lot. The youngins.
Females.
Women are
Females.
expensive, dude. They are. I'll give you
Yeah.
an example.
Yes.
My son, his first girlfriend was in high school. Now, every year here for New Year's, they have a thing called Otashidama. And what it is the family, all the different family will give the kids some money. And those kids will get like $300-500 every year from this Otashidama and all their family, right? Now, my daughter would spend hers immediately like it was like freaking hot butter, right? But my son always put it in his drawer and never spent anything for his entire childhood. Then he got a girlfriend. That
That shit
drawer,
went fast.
that drawer emptied out. Boy. But yeah, no, girls are like that, dude. Don't you sweat it, Tower. But go ahead, guess. What do you think I spend a month for luxury stuff?
That's a good
You want me to
question.
guess how much you spend?
Yeah. How much you think I spend on non-essentials?
He spends 50 yen.
Which is
50.
like 20 cents.
Are you including yourself and your wife, or just
Yes,
you
no, no,
personally?
no, my family, my wife and I. Yeah.
Okay. 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 I'll let Tower go first.
What do you
Okay,
think, Tower?
100 yen.
I don't know if I want to. Um,
Use U.S. dollars. Don't try to convert it to
Yeah,
yen.
just use
uh,
US
That's
dollars.
uh,
nonsense, money.
I don't know, 350 to 500.
Okay. What do you think, Grimlock?
I think you might spend maybe $100.
Okay. Thundero?
Mm. See, I'd be knowing you for a while,
Yeah,
and I know that the missus likes her weekends to be a little bit fun.
she does.
every now and again. So I'm gonna say in between 5 and 1,000, with including eating out and everything,
Right, right.
somewhere in there.
I would say that tower is the most correct. It's around 5, maybe $600.
Yeah.
So that's what I allot. And you guys have this delusion that I'm this super rich guy, right?
You own a sex mountain. I don't
Well,
own a sex mountain.
And a yacht.
I only spent $80,000 for the Sex Mountain.
Oh, only, let
It
me
was
just get my
affordable.
checkbook.
Um,
A fixer-upper sex mountain.
yeah,
This to the
it's a
this whole sex mountain starring Chester Bell.
So
well,
I saw
It's
this
like
video the
you
other
should
day,
do that. You
Chester.
should go up to Sex
Apparently,
Mountain.
yeah,
there's parts
Dress
of
like bum.
Japan, they're more rural,
yeah,
but you can get some really nice houses for
you
cheap.
can.
I was
You
like,
can.
what the
Some
hell?
you can
That's
get for
way
free.
cheaper than anywhere
They are.
else.
You can get some for free. They are fixer-uppers, though. Keep that in mind.
Well, yeah, but
You can
a
get
lot
some for
of
free.
Japanese fixer-uppers are not the same as American fixer-uppers. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're in pretty good shape.
Well, I just bought the valley. It's
Yeah.
a small valley, but I bought the valley, and the mountain came with it as part of the responsibility. And on that mountain, there's a very, very old fertility shrine that
Yeah.
I have to take responsibility for. I don't
Sex
mind it at
mountain.
all because I don't do anything. I send the locals up to clean it. I don't do shit.
Right. Do you get any recompense for
No,
it?
no.
Keeping it up?
It's a
It's not
shrine.
it's not
There's no
considered like
money
a heritage
involved. No,
site or
there's no
anything?
money involved at all. No.
Gotcha.
It's just about maintaining it. The local people go up and clean it, and if it needs some repair or rebuilding, they do it. I just have to make sure that it is getting done,
Right.
and which is very little effort on my part, right? Because
Just
the
a phone
local,
call. Hey guys, did you do that?
well,
Cool.
yeah, because no, usually what I'll do is because they have the honcho system here.
Yeah.
And the honcho system is basically it just rotates. I've been honcho a couple times, right? It
Mhm.
just rotates between all the families in an area, and each year you're the honcho. So you have to go out and make sure that they collect a little bit of money from everyone every month to maintain this flower bed or that thing, right? But it's
Right.
not a lot of work, but just to make sure street lights are working and all that kind of stuff. So what I do is just simply remind. I don't need to do anything. Actually, I put my wife on it or the secretary, and they just to remind them that the shrine is scheduled for cleaning. And they're like, "Oh yes, it's on my schedule," oh, and that's the end of it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
simple.
His one of his two secretaries, this poor guy over here,
Well,
struggling.
one is a real secretary. The other one is a half-time
Mistress?
secretary, half-time.
Oh.
No, I don't need that. That sounds awful
I know.
tiring to me.
Yeah, I don't have the energy for all that. That's
Yeah,
silly. I'd rather make money instead of spend it.
yeah,
Thank you.
no, that's true. That's true. Although, and I don't know if my original secretary is going to come back because she's on paternity leave, right?
Yeah.
And she might not come back. But either way, though, I still kind of have a responsibility for the new girl. So I don't know. It'll be actually, better if she didn't come back. What was that tower?
Mhm.
Someone was
I don't
trying to
know.
say something.
I heard something. It sounded a little bit like a trans. I don't know what was going on there.
Sounded like a
Uh,
squelch.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, there's a serious problem. And I think, like I said, I have a lot of faith. I have no faith in my generation. We're washed, we're done, we're old, we're old news. We're gonna be very similar to the silent generation. A few of us will do cool things, the rest of us will just peter out, right? Uh,
Maybe.
and I think you're gonna see Gen Z be a little bit more like what we call the greatest generation, the World War II generation, because they grew up in very similar economic situation with the quote Great Recession that everybody just has memory hold how bad it was in many places, especially in America. America got pretty poor for a while, and comparatively. So these kids, a lot of them grew up watching their families lose their house, watching them lose their businesses,
Sure.
watching, they get fired from their jobs because the company went under, they had to downsize, and this big recession happened, and then they watched also the price of everything quadruple in many markets within the last 5 to 10 years. So all of that they've seen, and like I said, the more studious, the more intelligent, let's call it what it is, among them have taken to this idea that the reason that this is the problem is because the generations before them were derelict in their duties. And they are correct. There's no other way to look at it throughout history.
Yeah.
There's no other way to see it than you cannot go from the 1950 standard of living and then within 20 years drop it by over 70%, which is exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Precisely what happened. And not say that somebody was derelict in their duty at the very least, if not malicious in what they were doing. Because people have to understand 1950 was less than 100 years ago. That's not that long in history.
No.
And the fact of the matter is, you could get things for nothing. For what we can't even conceive. Haircuts for like a quarter. Like, that stuff doesn't exist anymore. It's not even possible. You could never live that way.
Well, the big problem that's come up with that is the fact that, and $50 is not a lot, Dave. And of course, my whole point of that,
No,
Dave, was
it's
to show
not.
that I'm not that much different than any of you. Was my point, except for you. I'm different from you. Okay. But anyway, one of the main issues we've had with this is the wokies. Now, keep in mind, the wokies are not new.
No.
They've been around forever. They've been around 1,000 years ago. They were wokies. I guarantee it.
There were.
Right?
Actually, 2000. Aristotle used to argue with them all the time.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. No, he was perplexed by them. But
He hated
but
them. He's like,
he did hate them.
what?
Actually, Plato challenged them to wrestling matches.
That's right. He said, and he literally there's a thing. There's a quote from somebody back in the, I can't remember who, that basically said what he would do is in the middle of an argument with somebody he thought was his inferior, he'd just take his shirt off and say, "What's up?"
Yeah, no.
And just flex. He literally just flex on him.
Plato. But anyway, but the wokies have been a real problem, right? And the EPA and all these government agencies federal government agencies that should not exist anyway.
That's right.
They all these, Afuela, that Milei down in Argentina, he got the right idea, right? But these wokies come in and it starts small, right? They do this little echo thing in the area. Oh, we want to protect this swampland or something like that. And they just started putting more and more, OSHA rules and things like that, more and more structure and tax on these companies. So the companies they're not going to pay for it. You are. Right? Like all these people complaining about McDonald's up in their prices. Why shouldn't they? Why should they pay for it? Right? And of course, it gets to the point, and then of course, NAFTA with Clinton was the big bang in the head, right? These companies have no choice but to leave the country and go somewhere where it's cheaper. They were forced out by all these little wokies, and it gets worse and worse. And now that you got this global warming, Greta Thunberg, how dare you thing going on, it's just getting worse and worse and worse. They just put a tree tax on the people in Japanese. It's only like $10 a year, but still,
What is a tree tax?
well, it's a carbon tax. You see,
okay, but
it's for breathing.
I'm very confused. How are they? Do they have to plant trees? Do they have to pay in trees? How does this work?
Oh, I'm sure nobody knows. I'm sure. Yeah. But I'm just saying, it starts small. 10 years from now, that tree tax might be $100.
Right.
Right.
It will be.
And this is
what
happens when you don't whoop these people's asses.
Yep.
Because that's what needs to happen.
Yep.
Well, we need to do what Milei's doing in Argentina. Alfreya everything. Throw it out.
We need to bring back public floggings, and those don't have to be physical. They can be monetary or some other way. Oh, I would prefer them to be physical.
There's something about seeing a motherfucker get the whip across their back that just
Singapore does it right. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. You don't mess around in Singapore for a reason.
A lot of places in Europe actually wouldn't do that. They would just put you in the stocks. I mean, literally, you're locked down for a day, right? Yep. And people would mock you, spit on you, throw rotten food at you.
I love the idea of the pillory. Let's bring that in. Yeah, lock them in and just leave them there for 6 hours or so. Yeah. Just let them sit. Let them hang out.
Well, let's go ahead and get into what I do have for today. I do have a, well, I don't know if it's sad news, but I do have an obituary here
Uh-oh.
for us. So let's go ahead and get started.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
Now, Donald Sutherland um,
Not
uh,
Trump.
dies at 88. Now, this is another Hollywood liberal. He's very liberal, but you know
Oh, yeah,
what?
hyper liberal.
Yeah, yeah. But he keeps his mouth shut and does his job,
For
just
the
like
most
his
part, yeah.
son, right?
Yep.
Well,
Now,
it's going to be even easier for him now.
well, yeah, but I mean, I keep now I have a much closer connection to his son because we're the same age.
Right.
And I grew up with him in that in the modern Rat Pack, as they called them.
Oh,
Um,
Kiefer.
Kiefer. Kiefer's done a good job. I think he's
Ridiculous name.
honestly had more success than his papa. But
Yeah.
I've
Especially with
always enjoyed
24.
Donald Sutherland. My
Yeah.
favorite is probably is MASH. But
Yeah.
the Invasion of the Body Snatchers, he was pretty good in that too. But MASH is my favorite. However, um, a Hollywood woke liberal who knew how to keep his mouth shut and just live his life.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a shame. I liked him as an actor. I always thought
yeah,
he was
he's fine.
entertaining.
He's good.
He was very talented, very knew what to do. You could tell he was a very professional actor.
Hmm.
And had a lot of range actually.
Yep.
He played pretty much anything you could ever want. He probably played it at one point. I thought
Yeah.
he was phenomenal as President Snow. He was the exact right amount of menacing that he needed to be. Uh, and I think it was, it's a shame really, but 88, I mean,
It's good long life, dude.
that's a good run. That's a good
Yeah.
run. 88 years.
Well, that's why I say I don't know that it's sad news, because he had a great life. I mean, what is there more to complain about? I forget about. Oh no, I'm gonna have to change my opinion. The Dirty Dozen. I forgot he was in that. Yeah. He was also in another war film that I really liked too, where
Yep.
he played a hippie, kind of a druggie, really. But yeah, he's got a lot of good movies. But just shout out, shout out.
Rest in peace,
Eye
sir.
of the Needle, that's a good movie too.
There's
Yeah, I
MASH.
forgot about how many good shit he's in, huh?
Yeah, he was a good actor.
He was, but
Long
he
career.
killed it in MASH though. It was so good, dude. It was so
He-
good. It's too bad they couldn't get him for the TV series. Although maybe that's not bad because he did actually. The people they got in for that show were really good,
Right. Yeah.
and even working
Yeah, no, Matt,
recently.
I mean, there's a reason it was on for literally ever, that show. The show about the Korean War lasted 3 times as long as the actual
It
Korean
did.
War.
That is true. That is true. But and I love the picture that what is this? What channel? What is this? It's probably like the New York Times. I do love the photo they chose here for
Yeah.
the main here. It's great. That's
Well,
good picture.
you see, the problem with a place like the New York Times is when it comes to anything dealing with uh, truth or political reality, or content of that nature, they're just
Yep.
insufferable
Trash.
and completely unreliable. But when it comes to things like this, they're actually pretty good at eulogies and stuff. And they're whoever is in charge of their photography and
It's
picking,
excellent.
like whoever did this always does an excellent job.
That's excellent.
Truly, they
Yeah.
just do. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they do have professionals. And that's the one I
Yeah.
was thinking about, Dave. Kelly's Heroes. Yeah, he's great in that. He's the crazy
Yeah.
tank driver. He is good. Alan says, can't wait for Jane Fonda to rest in piss. Yeah, no, well, now I know how old you are. Yeah.
It's coming.
But
He
no,
is
that bitch.
undefeated, the Reaper. The
Yeah,
Reaper has never lost.
why was she? I know she's a Hollywood elite liberal, and her papa is super mega famous for those
Yeah.
generations. But she should have been arrested, dude. That was full on treason. Full on treason. And she
Yep.
didn't pay anything for that. That's
Yep.
ridiculous.
Yep.
If you don't understand, Jane Fonda is the jackass during the Vietnam War that not only protested, which is fine, you're an American, right? She actually
Get
went to
loud.
Vietnam, went amongst the Viet Cong, took pictures on their weapons.
Right.
She's a traitor, and she should have been punished for it, and 100%. But you're definitely, and poor Kenny Rogers, he never forgave her.
Yeah,
I'm,
no,
As you
we had
should.
a whole generation of them traders. One of them was known as John McCain,
oh
who
yeah,
worked directly with the Viet Cong and was known as the Songbird.
Yeah.
But that got all swept under the rug because he personally made sure that they didn't return the people they still had in the
Yeah.
early late 80s, early 90s. They were going to finally get them back, get them all out. They were ready to do it, and he put the kibosh on it in the Senate. So
Yeah.
he was a human piece of filth. And in
Unfortunately, there's
fact,
a lot of noise around that. We don't know all the truth, but yeah, no. And for half of that, half of what you said, the
yeah.
fact that he was a prisoner and they were literally breaking his arms and legs over and over
Well, they
again,
weren't though. That's the problem. That's a lie. They weren't.
is it?
All the other
Because he
people who
looks
were
like he's had
there.
his arms broken.
Well, yeah, he was 95 years old. The other people who were there said he was never tortured at all. He
Oh, I
basically
see.
was right away because he wanted to avoid being tortured. Sure, fine, fair enough.
Fair
But
enough.
the rest of them didn't do it. They didn't do it. They didn't turn. They didn't sing. He did. So that says a lot about his character
Yeah,
compared to
no.
the other men.
And the other half of it, yeah, it's not a good.
No,
Yeah.
no. He was a very bad man. I'm glad he's dead, and hopefully Miss Fonda will join him in hell soon.
Yeah.
So there's that. We can look
Yeah.
forward to it.
Well, there's a line to your protestations, right? I mean,
Yeah,
you're an American, therefore you have a right to protest and whatever you like. And
that's
I
right.
will never say you don't have that right. The line, however, is when you start interfering with other people's lives,
That's correct.
right?
Like blocking the highway.
Yeah,
Just
those kind of things. That is
Florida has the right
that's
law.
beyond the
Just let them run
pale.
them over.
Yeah, well,
Well,
that
here's the reason why I'm okay with that. Normally, I wouldn't be okay with it escalating to violence for a non-violent thing, right? But that
right.
is a violent act. You're forcing somebody. You're holding them against their will. That's not okay. If I were to do
No,
that on
it's
the
not.
street, if I just walked up to somebody and then had three other people surround them and wouldn't let them go, they would be well within their rights to
Oh,
engage violently.
which we've seen a lot with the Jews in in America recently. That is illegal. I'm going to get some coffee. I'll be back in a minute.
I am for the violence. We
Sorry,
don't have enough of it.
I had the wife. She needed something real quick. Uh, yeah, no, it's this whole situation with these people blocking the road, destroying priceless pieces of architecture and art. Apparently, just recently, they tried to bomb Stonehenge. Anybody engaged in these activities, we don't need as a species. I'm just going to say it right out. We don't,
No.
whatever they were going to give to us, whatever benefit we were going to get from them in their life, we found that they will not be doing that. So it's time to move on. We have plenty of young children who could use a kidney and they've got good working kidneys and they're just wasting them by being stupid. So
Mm.
I'm just saying, there are solutions to these problems. The problem is we've all become so liberal and soft that the idea of any form of truly physical recompense, that's apparently the word of the day. Recompense is, beyond the pale to us. So many of us, even the men, will just wince and squirm. Whereas
That's
it's
because
interesting.
most people don't
Yes,
get out.
yes,
That's
that's
why.
true.
Because I'm gonna tell you, somebody who you know what I do.
Yep.
So I'm up and down the road a lot. And I have come to the quiet conclusion that I understand why road rage happens as often. And genuinely, I would say, surprised that it doesn't happen often enough. Because a lot of people, quite frankly, if if it wasn't for the law, a lot of people would probably get shot dead on the highway.
Oh yeah.
And
Oh
they
yeah.
deserve it.
Yeah. A lot
And
of
they
people do.
deserve it.
Still happens, even though it's legal. Yeah.
But I'm saying
No,
it doesn't happen. It actually doesn't happen enough.
there's a
But
serious problem in much of the modern world. Even Japan has this. Chester was intimating. We have become health worshippers. And what I mean by that is the idea of causing harm to someone, to most people, even if they deserve it, they squirm, they squint, they wince at it, they cringe from that thought, and it's because we've been inundated with do no harm, do no harm, do no harm, and especially in our schools now, you're not allowed to get in fights, or you both get expelled, or you both get punished, whatever, and that's all. It's stupid. It's bullshit. It's
yes,
weakening an entire country. It's weakening our young boys and our young girls. weakening
That's
them from being able to learn how to defend themselves.
feminized thinking.
Yes, very feminized thinking, and I genuinely think it's coming to an end because, as Chester was talking about earlier, the American hegemony that allowed these things to be able to be promulgated all around the world is over. It's done. I've been saying it for a decade. I've been saying it on here for 5 years, and a lot of people think I'm just taking crazy pills and I'm being a doomer or whatever. No, 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 no. I'm just facing reality. The reality is the world we grew up in with the America as the world superpower who could basically bully everybody else, that's over. Doesn't matter who's president. These countries are done with it. They're done putting up with it. They don't have to put up with it. Like Chester said, a lot of these currencies have come to relative parity, at least amongst themselves, especially. So they don't have to put up with it. Why should they? And the
Yep.
American military is becoming very quickly a joke. We still have a very powerful military, no question. But I don't think we can do what we could do 20 years ago. I don't think it's possible. I don't think we could mass mobilize and invade some of these countries around the world. I don't think there's enough competency in the upper levels of the military to organize it. Because people, yeah, we might have the will, we might even have the technology and the machines and the soldiers. That's all well and good. If somebody with brains isn't at the top running the logistics of it, it doesn't happen. Period. It simply doesn't happen. I don't care how good your soldiers are if your generals are retards. Doesn't matter. You can have the best
Yeah.
soldiers in all time. If they can't get from point A to point B because nobody can run logistics properly and safely, then it doesn't matter how good your RB is. It's irrelevant. So the competency crisis in the brass of the American military, the American empire, which is what it is the end. That's it. It's the same thing that happened to Rome. It's the same thing that happened to Britain. Same thing that happened to a lot of these big, powerful. It's the same thing that happened to the Mongols. These empires fell not because of external threats necessarily. They fell because from within they rotted. They rotted away and they couldn't sustain. It's kind of like how bridges fall. Bridges usually don't fall due to damage. It does happen sometimes. Usually a bridge falls because it's rotted. The supports have rotted, the beams have rotted, or the cables have rotted, and they just let go. And that's it. It's the same thing that happens with any civilization. Many have been wiped out by stronger civilization, sure. But the ones that get to a certain point, the only thing that can really topple them is themselves. Rome is a great example. I would even say Alexander the Great's empire that he built was a great example. His lack of foresight caused that to crumble, basically, into the disparate kingdoms it became. But the reality is that's where we're at. America is an empire in decline. The biggest empire ever, probably, at least as far as its influence. Maybe not of its actual land size, but definitely its influence, reach. And that's where we're at now. Now it could be reversed. There's a possibility to, but it would have to be after about a decade of very, very, very hard decisions by the American people and the people at the top, the elites, if you will, where we'd have to really tighten up and we'd have to really struggle and we'd have to really do some things we're not comfortable with because it's mean. It's we're meanies. So you gotta tell those people to leave. Oh, we'd have to do some
Well,
very, very uncomfortable, maybe even bad things to right the ship. And most people aren't okay with that. I mean, for crying out loud, if you remember when Trump was president, the kids in cages lie that spread throughout the whole country that some people still believe, by the way, that Trump was throwing kids in cages all by their lonesome just because that's not true. It was never true. It never happened. It was a lie. But the country went into apoplexia about it. This was terrible. How dare he? We had late night hosts calling his daughter a cunt for not telling him to stop it, even though he wasn't doing it. So, not really sure what she was going to tell him. This whole thing was
I want to see
ridiculous.
all of them lined up and fucking shot.
Yeah. That's the problem. And
Especially
here's the
Colbert.
thing.
That's
And I
really
keep telling
fucking
our boy
coward.
Chester, because he's not here, he doesn't understand that a lot more Americans are starting to get to where you and I are, where it's just time to start decorating some light posts. Because we're done. My whole life we've been sending people to Washington to get it to sort it out, right? To right the ship, to try. Trump, that's what Trump was. He was a big FU. Michael Moore may have never done anything right in his life except this. He said the Trump vote will be the biggest FU middle finger to the elite, to the establishment in the history of the world. Yep, that's exactly what it was.
Sure.
And it didn't really work. Worked for a little while, but then they conspired and connived and did what they had to do to undermine and destroy him as best as they could without making him as a full-blown martyr, because martyrs are powerful.
They are.
So the reforms that are needed are going to be even harder now, because the soft reform, the olive branch reform, was Donald Trump, and they rejected it very vociferously. In fact, with great enthusiasm, they rejected it.
Yeah.
Okay. Then, I mean, the reality is, the founders put it like this: all government comes from all authority of the governments come from the consent of the governed. Correct? That's how it is. Even if you have a bad one, there's enough people that live around you who are willing to let it happen. They're not willing to stop it. That's the truth. Even in China, the evil China, if the Chinese people finally got a set of balls on them and decided no more, unless they just go on a mass genocide spree, it's no more. It's just that simple.
That is brewing,
everywhere.
though.
Yes, and that's good. I want to see not necessarily the genocide part, but the Chinese people find themselves. Find who.
Yeah.
Remember who you are. You're not. You don't have to be this. I do think that that's what we're seeing, and we're seeing it all over I mean, look at Europe. We just watched these elections, the biggest right wing swing in 100 years in Europe. In Europe, cuck ass Europe, they're swinging. So I do think you're going to keep seeing people try to correct the system by using the system. The problem is the system isn't designed to be corrected. It's designed to be impossible to correct. And that's why it's not being corrected.
Yeah.
That's why for 50 years, in America especially, we've been trying. People have been trying. Good people have been trying to go there, make things happen, and it just doesn't happen for various reasons. It just doesn't happen.
And to be fair, you don't even need government. I mean, there's no need for it. You don't need leadership. You don't need politicians. There's no need. What you need is managers, and they can be hired and fired. You need to minimize the federal government down to almost nothing, and then the states need to minimize themselves down to local. We need to get back to a local way of life, and you will see success just burgeon.
What's funny is even the sane, because there are some actually well-meaning, sane Marxists and socialists that exist. They do exist. They're just hard to find in all the noise. Who
Well, sure.
genuinely believe that this can work, and it could work as long as everybody had high trust and got along, which isn't going to happen. But it could work on paper. Okay, they'll say the same thing. The only way it can work, it can't work at this big
No, it has to
Soviet
be
Union
local.
style level.
Yeah.
It has
And
to
it
be
has
local.
worked at local levels many times, actually.
For a while,
Alan,
and someone gets greedy.
you are correct. The death of the late night talk show was tasty. However, Late Night with the Devil, the new movie, go watch that. It's pretty good. Yeah.
That's pretty good. Yeah, I
Yeah.
saw that too.
I do want to move on from Donald here.
Let's do it.
And go into my rainbow unicorns that I have today. But I do have one perplexing question that maybe Grimlock can help me with.
Oh Lord, there's a nigga question coming.
No. I have one of those later. But no. In the movie, Trapper John is the head surgeon. He's the big honcho, and Hawkeye is the sidekick. But in the TV show, they flip that, and Hawkeye is the head surgeon, and Trapper John is the sidekick. Why did they do that? I wonder.
I don't know.
Good question.
I've never really been into math.
I love MASH. It doesn't matter. It works just fine. But they could have easily had Alan Alda's character be called Trapper John and not Hawkeye, right? I'm just wondering why they made that decision. It doesn't matter because it was great. The movie's great and the TV show's great. But I just always wondered why they did that. I guess I'll ask one more question to the chat and to you two regarding MASH. Which do we prefer? The first Colonel or the second Colonel? Trapper John or
question.
Honeycutt?
Good question.
Burns or Winchester?
I
Because
don't
the
know.
show has two sides to it, right?
Right. I used to watch it a lot with my grandpa because he loved that show. He would watch it, back in the day, it used to be on TV all the time.
Oh,
literally
yeah.
all
No,
the
when I was a
could,
kid. Sure,
it didn't matter. You changed the channel, as MASH was somewhere. And yeah, so he would watch it pretty much all day. If he wasn't watching World War II documentaries, because he was a World War II vet.
Yeah.
He was watching MASH.
Yeah.
So or sports, of course, but that's tough. So I don't know. That's tough. That's a tough one because I'd have to watch it again. I haven't watched it in a very long time. Not since
Well,
my mom died. At least it was 4 or 5 years ago now. So
well, you have the Blake era, right? And then you have Sherman Potter era. They're really quite different in many ways. My father, he loved the Blake era, and that's interesting because my dad is a lifetime soldier. He's
right.
actually been in the shit, right? I haven't, right? I mean, I lived in New York, but it's not the same. Um, although it's close. Anyway, I personally, I like the Blake stuff too, but I much prefer the Sherman Potter era. I'm a Potter guy.
Potter guy.
Yeah, Honeycutt, Winchester. I'm that's my groove. How about you, Grimlock?
I know of MASH. That was a show I actively avoided.
Oh, really? Is that the rule in the black community? No mash? Too many white dudes?
No,
They did have
no, my mom.
Spirit Trucker Jones
They
though.
did
They
have
had a
Spear
black guy.
Chucker Jones, the greatest name
I mean,
ever in the history
Yeah,
of television.
he was awesome.
my mom watched it. I mean, I'll put it this way: I, ev- we knew that was one of those shows you knew it was like that. Take your ass to bedtime. If you heard the MASH theme song, you knew you were supposed to be in bed.
Okay,
Like
I'm older than you, I guess. Yeah, because I saw it in prime time. But okay, just keep in mind
that would
it had a Lebanese transvestite too.
when I was let's see when I was a kid on because it used to come on Fox and it would come on after the 10 o'clock news. So about 11 o'clock,
Hmm.
you heard MASH coming on. Your ass wasn't in bed.
Yeah, I understand.
You get the black dad stare or the
Yeah,
threat of the sheriff.
no, I understand. Now I was that kind of kid too. You had to go to bed at like 8, 9, something like that. But anyway, you know, safe travels, Mr. Sutherland. You made a lot of great movies, and so did your kid.
He did.
So good on you.
Brought a lot of happiness into the world, even if he was an insufferable communist.
Yeah, but he kept it to himself and his private life. He didn't involve it in his profession. So
Right.
fair enough, dude. But anyway, rainbow unicorns.
The Acolyte Rotten Tomatoes drops to new low 13%. My wife's favorite number, in fact, number 13.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I love it. You love to see it, Chester. Listen, I am still and forever will be Disney de l'NDS. Disney must be destroyed. And that's it. Until Disney crumbles, I will not be happy because it's the
Well,
only way we're going to get these franchises away from them
yeah,
is for them to fall apart because they'll still have value no matter what they've done to Star Wars, and they've done a lot. Star Wars still has value; it just doesn't have value under the Disney brand.
not anymore.
That's what people are
Yeah,
tired of. Yeah,
and people have just noped out of it. And
yeah,
that's a big point. That's a really big point. But why do I say rainbow unicorns? Because we see a lot of this wishy-washy thinking, and here we have two more examples with this girl particularly and Leslie Headland herself, right? And I
right.
want to we've talked about this several times. It's dead, or it's dead in the water, and it's not the first one, and it won't be the last because as I mentioned, we are centupling levels of cope right now, right? So until excuse me, until Disney's dead, it won't stop. But
Right.
I want to talk about these two. This girl is the new Ziegler because she's insufferable,
She's
stupid.
not new. She's been around way longer than Zach.
Well, I'm just saying, for me, right? She's this
Yeah.
insufferable little brat. She hates white people, which is weird because she's mainly a white girl. She's mostly a
Don't
white girl. Her daddy is Dutch,
No,
literally
no,
straight on Dutch.
she's mostly Jew. Let's just call it what it is.
Well,
Bitch
that's
last
fine,
name is
but
Steinberg.
but
You
her
ain't too many Steinbergs in the fucking hood.
no, but I mean, do keep in mind also her mother is mulatto as well. This girl is
Yeah,
mostly not black, mostly, right?
correct.
And she keeps going on about her blackness. She's all super black. She's super in the hood. She's urbanite,
Uh-huh.
holding the
God.
kryptonite. But I
Please,
mean,
She
that's
ain't
her
ever been in
attitude.
no
please,
hood.
God.
She ain't
I
ever been
know
in
that.
no
Okay.
hood.
She's a rich girl. She's been working for Disney since she was 4. I know
Right.
this.
She's
But my point is,
she's
that's her identity, right?
Yep.
no,
Yep. She's
that's
she's
not
one of
even her.
those
That's
who
not
would
even.
be that's her fake identity, the one she's putting on.
Fair
She's
enough.
one
Yeah,
of those who would be
that's
absolutely aghast to go into the actual hood and see how those people behave and speak to each other.
Right.
And
that bitch ain't been
yeah,
to a fish fry a day in her life.
Oh
no, no,
man, I tell you what. I grew up around a lot of black people, right?
yeah,
Even living in black neighborhoods and stuff like that my whole life, well, my young life. And I'll tell you one thing about a black community. It can be noisy. It is noisy. Don't
yeah,
go to a black movie theater if you want to watch the movie. Don't do that.
no, no. The
But I'll
entertainment's
tell.
in the stands anyway.
Well, I'm just saying. But one thing I could say about them is one, they know how to have fun. And two,
Yeah,
boy, can they cook. You want some good grinds?
yeah.
Go to a black barbecue. Mm-hmm.
You,
You get
you
some
want your
You
good
husband to
also
sip
food.
a
want to hear
couple
the
beats?
You also want to hear the best casual racism of your life.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Be
oh yeah,
sitting at the states. Be
yeah,
sitting at the card table,
yeah, yeah,
Domino's table,
yeah.
and
Domino's.
let the
Yeah.
TV be on in the background, and it'd be
Yeah,
like the news, and it'd be like some non-black people in the news. You want to hear some
Oh,
good
especially
casual
old black
racism?
dudes.
Let
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
oh
oh
yeah,
yeah,
oh yeah,
some old
oh yeah.
black
oh yeah.
people, some old black people
Absolutely.
whose fucks to give went to Valhalla a long time ago.
Yeah, no,
That's
no,
right. Yep,
absolutely, dude. But another thing that amazed me that I would stare in absolute amazement was to watch a like a bag or a box of crabs come into a black house.
yep,
Oh yeah.
The newspapers are instantly out. They move with such efficiency. I've
yep.
never seen black people move
Like
with such
gazelles.
efficiency in my life. The
Cause
newspaper
you,
is out.
cause you,
It's
cause you
covering the
can't, cause
tables.
you can't fuck with crabs.
No,
You
you
just
That's
can't.
can't.
right.
You can't. But I mean, it's just amazing the orchestrated choreography that goes on
That's
as
right.
soon as that box enters the front door. The
Organized
One of the
chaos.
one of the funniest things I ever saw in my life was when I used to live in Brooklyn, going down 8th Avenue. And if you back then, I don't know if it probably still is the case because it's mostly Chinese people. But if you was like up around 7 in the morning and you're walking down the street, you know, you got the people bringing in, the morning catches.
yeah,
And
yeah.
one morning, off the back of that pickup truck, they done fucked up and let the bucket of crabs tip over, and those crabs got loose. And let me put it this way: a couple of them Chinese brothers could have qualified for the Olympics that day. The way they took the fuck off,
Yeah. Oh yeah,
because
they
those
were scared.
crabs was going after them.
Yeah, yeah. But it is a thing to behold, though.
It,
They do love their crap. Um,
little tasty terrorists they are.
yeah. However, now of course you go to a white person's house and have some good grub. You go to Latino house and have some good grub. Italian, et cetera, et cetera. Of course, black people do have
I saw.
pretty
I heard
solid
you.
food, though.
I heard you.
But you know who
I
has?
heard you exclude Italians from the white people. I heard you.
Yeah,
Don't think
yeah,
I
I
didn't hear
did.
you.
Yeah, well, they are. They would be angry if I didn't. Especially these days. However, you know what culture, American culture, has the best barbecue
Yeah, because
grinds?
Italians want nothing to do with that white people don't season their food shit. Because you know,
That's true. But no, the Italians don't do barbecue anyway. But
That's right.
no,
don't believe that Hollywood bullshit. They don't
we
barbecue.
do grilled calamari.
Yeah,
That's what
well,
we do.
no, no, not really. You do it in the kitchen. I mean, come on. Yeah. But you know which culture you think actually has the best
And
barbecue grub in America? Who do you think it is?
Good question.
probably between Southerners and Koreans.
And that'll start a big argument. So
Yeah, but
I
I
want
know the
Chester to
truth
tell
because
me.
I've experienced all of them. Yeah.
I want Chester to tell me.
Indians. And I mean Native Americans, not, feather, not
Oh, I was
duck.
about to say. I was like, wait a minute.
No, dude.
My
The
people,
No, I've
feather
been,
people.
I lived in Rhode Island, right? And I moved
Yeah,
around, but mainly my home is Rhode Island. And one of my best friends who unfortunately is dead now, but they're all dead. But anyway,
Well, you killed them
his
all.
papa was the chief of the Narragansett Indian tribe, right?
Excellent.
So I went to many, many powwow just because I was his friend, and they're super nice
Right.
people. They didn't give a shit anyway. They're actually some of the least racist people I've met, which is interesting.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, I go to those powwows all the time. Man, the grub, dude.
Yeah, the natives
Wow.
always believe to respect the animals. This big Sasquatch walking in with their kid. You think they're saying no?
That's fair. That is fair. I was definitely
Hey,
the giant.
Sasquatch is here. Who brought the Sasquatch?
They all little. That's true. They all little. But their grub was great
See,
though, dude. Powwow grub. If you
little
get a
feather
chance,
speaks to nature. Look what he bring.
that's right. That's right. Yes. Big feather hit like rock. Yes.
No, it is interesting. The more you get around the actual tribals, not just the ones who, they call themselves that, but they live like white
Yeah,
liberals.
actual Indians. Yeah. Yeah.
The real ones, they're usually not very racist. They're not
No, they're
they're
cool.
not mad at white people or nothing. They're not hating on them.
Well, shit. We
They're
got them up out the damn teepee.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
let's be fair. It's like Muhammad Ali. Thank God my ancestors got on that goddamn boat.
Yes. I mean, he ain't wrong. Have
He
you
ain't
seen
wrong.
Africa?
I
It's
mean,
not a place
they
most
blame
people
all
want to
these
live.
colonials, but look how much they elevated these places they went. They're
Yeah.
all
Oh, every
doing
single
better.
one of them.
You
Yeah.
realize how
Well,
much of a
except
backwater Indonesia was before the British and Dutch came?
yeah, it was bad. It was
Yeah,
real bad.
yeah.
No, it's just true. It was unfortunate that it's gotten such a bad rap, colonialism, because I don't know of for the human race if there has been a singular force that was better than European colonialism.
Oh,
It
they did help.
elevated
Yeah,
so much of the world. It brought
yeah.
the best, in my opinion, the best religion in the world to so much of the world, which helped, especially in the Mesoamericas, because oh my God, were they savage. Um,
Oh
so
my
yeah,
God, yeah, they were really bad. Yeah.
there's very little. I mean, yes, there was some brutality and there was some
Especially with the
outright
Spanish and French.
barbarity.
The other ones
Yes,
were much better.
yes. So yeah, that's absolutely true. But at the same time, the Aztecs were killing. We don't even know. We every so often we find more skulls. We
Well,
don't know
that's why the
how many.
conquistadors got a freaking gigantic army because everyone around the Aztec hated their ass and they wanted them
Yes,
dead. That's why
yes,
they were able to take it so easily. But
yeah.
anyway, that aside, we're talking about rainbow unicorns.
Rainbow
This
unicorns.
girl is insufferable, incredibly insufferable girl. And of course, her buddy, old Leslie here. Now Leslie gets up
Ugh.
and you know she's a lesbian. Okay, I don't care. And she makes a she uses the word queer, but it's a lesbian show. Okay, fine.
Mhm.
You told me it's not for me. Cool, right? And it's failing miserably. Failing really bad. We saw 13%. It's actually probably worse than that because we know Rotten Tomatoes tries to hold up Disney stuff, so it must be really bad. But nevertheless, people don't like
Hey,
their
look,
stuff.
congratulate them. They found something more hated than the Star Wars Holiday Special.
They
They did
did.
it.
They did. But the interesting thing is she gets up and she actually uses the word reductive, which is insane because her idea that like, well, of course they're all a bunch of women together. Of course they're going to be lesbians. You're being reductive by calling them lesbians. What? Do you
Yeah.
know?
Wait.
Do
What?
you even understand the English language, young lady? But nevertheless, um, she's getting up there saying it isn't fair. It's racism. Of course, the same thing they do. But we all know it's bullshit. She and Kathleen Kennedy and all the other female writers and stuff, their whole goal is to destroy the boy product that is Star Wars. She is not upset that it's got bad ratings. She's very happy about it. We know that is their goal. We know it,
I
right?
love
Yeah.
I, I love how they cry racism, but they ruined every black male in the franchise at every
That's right.
chance they got. We
Correct.
Well,
wanted
yeah, they don't want
we
men.
wanted Finn. We wanted Finn
We did.
in the fucking sequel trilogy. You gave us a Super Ray that
Yep.
nobody wanted.
Right.
Nobody.
Oh, we wanted Lando Calrissian back, and what did you give us? Twink Calrissian.
Yeah.
Thanks. Thanks.
Unbelievable, right? I mean, and they say that people are racist, and it's like, no, we would have loved to have some cool Lando, man. Lando's a
15
cool
years
character. We
ago,
like Lando.
if George had come out and been like, "Hey, we're going to do a Mace Windu TV series
Mm-hmm.
diving deep into this character," I'd be like, "Yep, I'll watch that.
Hell
Watch the
yeah.
hell out of
Bro,
that."
Yeah.
especially coming off the freaking prequel trilogy, and you
Yeah.
just saw how freaking Mace went out, and you're like, wait a minute, what?
No, yeah,
We
yeah,
need
yeah,
we need
yeah,
some
yeah. We
answers.
need some
We need to
answers
We
on
need
see.
him. Yeah, no, we
Yeah.
need. But so we know it's bullshit. All her complaining and
yeah.
whinging and whining, it's not real. It's not. She's very happy. She has successfully destroyed more Star Wars. That's the point. However, we know what this is. This Leslie Headland. We know exactly what she is. She is
No,
a
she wrote a
covert
lesbian.
agent. Yeah.
She wrote a lesbian fan fiction. She was she. It's the only thing she was honest about. That's what she wanted to write. She saw Frozen and was inspired. There's some weird shit about a sister relationship, and I'm like,
Yeah. No.
you can afford a psychiatrist for whatever the fuck problem you trying to work out,
Right.
where you
And
potentially
This
want
point, she
to
needs an
fuck your
exorcist, I think.
sister.
all of that shipping of the sisters, of course, did happen. Still probably happens. But
Yeah.
the
Yes,
what was the main character there? The evil queen, Elsa or something, right? Um,
The
I
ice
can
yeah.
tell you,
princess. Yeah,
Now
I
Elsa.
didn't watch it.
all of that, my kids watched it, and of course, because of the Disney movie, and my daughter was like, Tangled was better. And she's right. Even though
Correct.
that thing hit
That's
like crazy.
yeah.
But
Well, it hit because of the song. That's why it hit.
well, yeah, but
Song
that
hit.
that song is the same progression of so many other songs. But whatever, I'm not going to
Well,
get into
yeah.
that. But the point is, they were putting right in your face, somewhat subtly, of a lesbian character because Elsa is a lesbian, right?
Right.
And that's what is insinuated, right? All right, fine. And you're right, that probably influenced the little baby Leslie. But she is.
Well, I'll say this: all of these people of her orientation, they have this wonderful mental gymnastics that they go through, where they'll take a character, and any character that where you don't set it in stone where they can see it. This character was queer coded. You just didn't understand it. It's
Right,
that
which is
you.
why I'm
I've
cool.
seen this argument
Right,
a lot. Like you
which is
see this
why
argument with Tim Drake and John
sure,
Kent
sure.
and
Which is why
Iceman.
I'm
All
calling it
you
Rainbow
name a
Unicorns.
character.
You're right.
Yeah,
Right.
and
The myth.
I never watched. I never watched Frozen, but I guarantee it's the same thing where there was a little bit of ambiguous nature or something they could latch on to like a fucking Metroid and go, see, that's queer coded. You just didn't understand it because because
No.
I'm not interested in a fucking my relatives, Leslie. I'm not.
No, and fair enough, right? but but to be fair, I'm not really that mad at Leslie because I know exactly what she is. I know her point. She is
She looks
an
like one of the
agent.
Koopas from the live action Mario Brothers movie.
It's fair. She
I
does look
mean,
like a Koopa. But my point is more of this girl.
Oh,
Because now this girl's been working with Disney since she's 4. She's done a lot of stuff. I've never seen it before, but I'm sure she's done a lot of stuff. However, just like Zegler and Brie Larson and so many of these other ladies, talk about burning your
but
career down. I mean, this girl laughing at the fans, mocking them. If you're not gay, you're not cool in my eye. That's this girl, right? And then she does this thing, the hate you give, right? She does
please
this
don't
little
play that
video and she's
video.
so
I've already
proud of it.
seen it.
Now they talk about she in 72 hours she made that video. It's amazing. I can make a video in 2 hours and I'm not even a professional, right? I'm sure a
yeah.
professional put it down 20 minutes, what she did, right?
Right.
So don't give me this nonsense. But she's got her little music video here. Let me go take a look at it real quick, right? And
Please don't.
well,
Please
she's
don't.
going on about now
I'm
how black.
begging
Look
you.
how black she is. She's super black girl. Got
Uh,
that afro. I'm black girl. I'm black, super black.
uh
Even though she's not, right?
It's one of
But
the big what's the word
okay,
I'm looking for? The big
she's
uh
twerking badly, but
ironies
whatever. You may get
of
the
these
booty for that dance, little girl. Oh, look
of
at
these
me. I'm saying, ooh,
incredibly
ooh.
incredibly not black, but they have a little bit of black in them people Like this lady,
Yeah.
they get 14 and they get the hair too because the white hair is super recessive gene.
Oh well,
Uh,
black genes
yeah,
are strong, dude. They are strong.
yeah. So that allows them to really cosplay, right?
Okay.
They
Oh,
can
the
really get in
police are
there.
bad. She brought up the police. Good job. Policing.
Now, see, this is a bit personal because as a half breed, I
Yeah.
am tired of these fucks, especially no these well-to-do,
Yeah,
pampered, entitled fucks like her who's never struggled. I'm sorry, bitch.
No.
You're crying oppression because somebody didn't like a terrible lesbian. First of all, you've never done anything I've been interested in.
yeah.
Anything. You was in the Hunger Games. I could not give two fucks about the goddamn Hunger
Didn't even
Games.
know
One of the
that.
most
Yeah, I
overrated
didn't know that.
things I've ever seen. Yeah, that's where she got started. She was in the Hunger Games. Then she's involved. There's some indie company called Stranger Comics. They actually have put together a decent universe, but I have waffled for years for picking up any of their stuff because that bitch's involvement in their company.
Oh.
Um, yeah, because I can't stand the little fucking bitch. Um,
Well, she is insufferable, is my
because,
point. But talk
yes,
about
it's
burning your
because
career, dude.
no, she's not burning it. She's playing up to all the right people of the Yamaka persuasion because that's who she's doing it for. She's doing it for Daddy and her and their people.
Yeah, but there's a line, and I feel she's crossed it like Zegler has. Because Zegler's done. She's out. She went too far. She's too hot a potato. And this girl is doing the same thing, right? It's too much. It's too much.
It,
Because this girl has
it,
become the image of hate, right? Of the hate of what's going on. Leslie, we all
it,
know what she is. She just is with this thing. This girl has shown her hand, and I think she just burned her career down, dude.
no, she she's got more protection than you think.
I'm sure, but people remember this shit, dude.
Yes, people. Well, I'll say this: people people like us will remember this. The normies will not.
Maybe. Now,
The normies have a memory of a fucking goldfish.
maybe that's maybe true. Now, I will
It's
give her half a branch. I'll give her 10% of her branch. I'll give her a little twig. Okay. I
I'll
understand.
give her a ledge. You either jump off or get pushed off,
Well,
bitch.
my point is that I understand the. We hear this word struggle a lot, right? You get a lot of hip hoppers, rappers going on about struggle. It's like, dude, you don't know shit about struggle. Fuck off, right?
Well,
No,
there was a
seriously,
time where
fuck off.
that was legitimate. For a lot of people, it's cosplay, and
Yeah,
that's why I
200
can't
years
stand.
ago.
And that's why. Well, I'll say I'll say depending on what you consider struggle. For a lot of people, poverty is a struggle.
Sure.
Even in America, where it's being poor in America, I would rather. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I'd rather be poor in America than be poor just about anywhere
Oh,
else.
you better believe you would rather. Yeah.
And, but it's it's cosplay. It's
It is cosplay. It
okay.
is.
And that's what I can't stand. It's
It's preaching to the
people
choir.
like her and, and not even preaching to the choir. No, it's preaching to your bankroll. That's all that is. It's like fucking Colin Kaepernick, that fucking grifter.
Yeah.
The fact that people
Well,
still think he was some kind of
I'm going to get into that in a
civil rights
second. Yeah.
activist.
But I mean, you've probably had similar experiences to me, maybe even deeper ones. Like I said, I grew up around a lot of black people, right? I'm not a black dude,
Yeah.
but I grew up around a lot of black people and had a lot of black friends as well. But never, even with that, many times when you're sitting amongst black people, even way back in my time, they would whine on about the man and they would just go on and on about all this nonsense that wasn't real because I hate to, burst your bubble. White people don't give a shit. We don't sit around thinking about the black man. We don't. Unless you're
Right.
in our inner circle, you're part of our friends and family. We don't give a shit. That's how humans are, dude. We don't care about
It
you.
was
We don't
taught.
think about you.
That was taught.
I know it
That's been
was, and
taught.
that's
I
my
wish.
point. It's been taught. It's because I've seen it. I've seen it live and in living color. But here's the thing with this girl: she is a mulatto, just like Copperneck, and they're stuck between a delusion and a reality, right? The delusion that the white people won't accept them, which is complete bullshit, but they believe it, that they're not really, can't really be part of the white community, and the
It's
black
bullshit
people
because white people accepted them faster than black people
way
did.
faster. It's complete bullshit.
Most black people already look at those two, and I'm saying this from experience, as a lesser. That's just the way it's been.
Especially black women.
Still is.
Especially black
It's
women.
still
They
old.
don't like the light skins, right? So there's a real issue for a mulatto girl or boy, especially a girl, when it comes to the black community. I get that. That is real, right? But the other side of it, that they believe that the white community won't accept them, is complete nonsense. It's complete and utter nonsense. It's that messaging that they've been getting in, and that's the problem. Black people in America in general live inside a bubble. And when you look at the black people who are not inside the bubble, just with all the other Americans, they
Well,
grow up, they're
I
completely normal Americans, right?
well, I can say this, and this is from experience, that mulattoes do have a bit, I guess you could say, an identity
They
crisis
do.
Yes.
because you're stuck between two, and and things are different now. I'll say that. I think it's probably better now, but back then,
Oh yeah.
if you're stereotypically one, you had to be stereotypically one or the other, to where you got like that acceptance, and if you didn't, it's like, oh, you're not, you're not this, you're not that. So if you're light skinned and you're not stereotypically black, oh, you're trying to be white.
Yeah, no. Nah,
I
it's
got
real.
I
It's real.
I I got that shit a lot.
You did. Well,
Especially in high
yeah.
school, because when I started in high school, as in high school you start learning things, doing things differently, figuring things out about yourself. And I started really loving heavy metal. Not exactly the what you would consider stereotypically black.
No,
Yeah.
but you know what? You're welcome. Come on in.
So,
The water's fine.
Mosh pit
oh yeah,
alert.
Hell yeah,
No
man.
matter what color your
oh,
skin
No one
is.
cares. I mean, that's the
no,
problem with these bubbles. No one actually cares. And I saw a whole bunch of dumb shit when I was young, and I've seen it continuing and worsen. Actually, I've actually seen young black guys, or not the girls so much, but black guys, when I was young, that were actually trying hard in school. They were trying to do a good job. They were trying to, better themselves by, growing their
yeah,
knowledge. And the black people around them would give him shit. Would you think you're white? Uncle Tom, would you think you're
yep,
white? And I'm like, what
oh
the
yeah,
fuck is that, dude? Are you do not realize you're being racist to yourself?
because of the ejection and the suspension.
yep. That was a real thing. A lot of people don't think that was a thing. That was a real thing.
It is a real thing. It was definitely a real thing. I thought I heard Mr. Miracle for a second. What was that? But it's a problem. So my point is, I kind of get a little bit of the mulatto problem that she obviously has. Because to be fair, the average I've mentioned there's a few black girls I find attractive, but in general, the black girl for me is not really sexually attractive. That doesn't have anything to do with any other relationship I might have with her. It's just sexual.
Uh,
However, this pretty girl, she's pretty.
What's going on? There we go. Now it's working. Man, Discord is having all kinds of fits today. Yeah, she's actually pretty. She's all right.
Yeah, no, I mean, so I get the struggle of it, but girl, you are burning yourself down. You are burning
There
yourself
is
down.
they've done a lot of research on this particular topic, and of mixed race people having a lot of emotional and mental instability
Sure.
for that exact reason, because they're stuck between two worlds and they don't know where they belong. We are starting to understand, and it's a shame that the left got to this first and hijacked it like they do. We're starting to understand the value of identity and heritage and roots. Now, our ancestors knew all this stuff, and they didn't even explain it really because they didn't think they would have to.
Mhm.
But there is, maybe for mental health and mental stability, there might be nothing that's more important than knowing who you are and where you come from and where you fit.
Oh yeah.
Humans desperately want to. Now, there's exceptions like myself. I couldn't care less. But most humans aren't like me. I have the self awareness to understand that. They desperately want to find their place.
Yeah.
They need to. They crave it. There's a reason why so much literature is that's the story. They're trying to find their place.
Right. Coming
Because
of
it is
age.
a need within humanity. And if you have something that is apparent about you that matches the other people around you, well, that makes that a lot easier. And if you don't, that makes it a lot harder.
Right.
So a lot of this stuff that you see, especially from the quote unquote black women, where they're very nasty, and there's some black men who do it too, where they're very nasty to mixed race people,
Yeah.
is they see that as most likely they see it as one of two things: either a threat in some way to their heritage, or they see it as something that they're envious of. And
Yeah. No.
it comes out in the, like what you were talking about with the, why are you studying? We trying to be white? Well, why? Well, first of all, let's back up. Why shouldn't he try to be white if white people got everything? When that makes sense.
Well,
The
that
only
would
reason
be
you
the
wouldn't do that is envy and hatred
yeah.
and bigotry.
And to be fair, I do get the black girls, a point of view, the real black girls. I get it,
Yep, me
because the
too.
whole world, the lighter skin you are, the more beautiful you are. You are. The whole world's like that.
Typically, yes.
The whole world,
Yes.
right? It doesn't. It's not just America. It's the whole damn planet. And
Yep.
I get it. I understand their angst, but I also understand that there's, when I was young, that N word you're not supposed to say.
Yeah, the
That
no word.
we well, yeah, but we didn't use that for a random black person. That's not how it was used. It was used
Correct.
for the ghetto criminal. That's,
Correct.
it didn't matter your color, right?
Yep.
But these days, it's a nasty word anyway, so just stay away from it. But the Tommy Sotomayor, which I haven't seen in a while, and what's that other guy who died, but really was trying to give wisdom to
Kevin
the black
Samuels.
Kevin Samuels, really
I
trying
love
to
Kevin
help out their
Samuels.
communities, and it's not our business, but
Yep.
it's good what they were trying to do. Both of them had this very simple thing: if you see three or more ghetto girls, you run away.
Yes. Get out of there. Get out.
Seriously.
Move on.
And the reality is that's a very truthful thing. So
Yep.
I kind of understand that struggle a little bit, that they have. Now my kids are mulatto as well, right? I
Right.
mean, they're half breeds, just like
Right.
Grimlock here. I'm weird, for America. Most Americans are mixed blood, right? The melting
Whatever
pot.
a 3/4 breed is, that's basically what I am.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what that
But
is.
you know what I mean. Most Americans are mixed. I'm a strange one that's not, right?
Right. Yep.
But my wife,
Northerners,
of course, is Japanese, so there's that.
fucking
But
Yankees.
well, it is what it is. At least we didn't rape the culture out, huh? All
Yeah.
right. But
Yeah.
nevertheless, my kids
It
have
needed a
have
good raping. Let's be
well,
honest. It
well,
needed it cleaned up.
my kids have a similar problem even here in Japan, right? Now, my son doesn't have any trouble because I taught him how to be a Chad, you see.
Yeah,
And
that's right.
he chads it up and he's had no trouble whatsoever. Matter of fact, his problem, and I have to keep reminding him, is everybody wants to do shit for him, even his
Right.
freaking bosses. And I'm like, dude, don't let that go to your head, dude. I have to always
Knock
kind
them
of rein
down.
it in, right?
Yeah.
So he has zero problem. My daughter, on the other hand, has a little bit, not with the men at all, but with the girls,
Yes.
because she's taller, which they're envious of. She's whiter, which they're envious of. And
Right.
I guess from their point of view, she's prettier, which they're envious of. So she's had a
Right.
little bit of trouble. It's not as noisy or cacophony as it is in the West, yeah, amongst the black community, which we're talking about. But she has had to deal with it, and emotionally, which is what you were talking about, it's kind of angst her up a little bit.
Yeah,
So
messes
it's
you up.
real,
Yeah. Well,
it is
because
real.
we do have this unfortunate. I think it's unfortunate. I know what people would argue, but that's just because mine is incredibly strong, believe it or not. We do have this thing called empathy, and it is the ability to see. People misunderstand what empathy is. They think it's just understanding or being able to feel what other people are feeling. It's not just that. It's a literal, actual phenomenon that happens. You get a group of people together, and their emotional states meld together.
Uh-huh.
So if somebody is miserable and you're around that long enough, you'll start to feel bad. You just will. And if somebody's really happy and energetic and they have a high spirit, as we call it, your spirit will be lifted. It just will. Because that is what we are. We have this we call it spirituality, we call it all sorts of stuff, all sorts of names for it. But really it's probably just some form of brainwave connection that our brains are,
Maybe.
they're not that dissimilar. So when
Of course, we're human.
frequencies start coming off of people, and you can feel it. If you've ever been around somebody who's really in a bad way,
Oh
you
yeah.
can feel that.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
That's true.
so that eventually is going to affect you. It just is. You're human. You're weak. You're going to eventually get in a bad situation.
Well,
A lot of medical professionals have this. They get really, real depressed and really, they have to decompress and stuff
oh
because
no, I bet
they're
that's
just
true.
around.
Yeah.
They're just around misery. Even if they're not even like around a lot of death, they're around misery all day, and
Yeah,
that
no,
affects you.
I can see that. Well, you're
Yeah.
you're empathetic, right? Empathetic.
Yes.
Me personally, fuck them all like God sorted it out. Grimlock, what do you say about your empathy? You
Oh,
got
he's
any
muted.
empathy there, Grimlock?
He might be taking a piss. Um,
Okay, I'll
no,
remember
I
my
actually agree
question.
with you, and it's because I understand that I walk into a room and I can feel what these people are feeling. The reason that's why I absolutely despise empathy is because it makes me feel miserable most of the time because people are a wreck, especially in America. Everybody's anxious. So that's why so many people are on so much medication. They're a wreck. They're a mental wreck. So you walk in, you're around them, and they just bring you down just being around them. It's one of the reasons why I'm a hermit. I'm like the most gregarious hermit ever to exist. I
Alan
can
has
be
empanadas.
incredibly, I can be incredibly affable and likable and charming, but then I get around humans, and I'm just like, oh, you're just terrible, and I just
You know,
don't want to.
you
I
know
don't want
who
to do those
the
things.
most stressed out, wrecked people here in Japan are?
Huh,
Nurses.
I bet
They
that
literally
would make.
shake.
Yep, yep,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
bet. See, a lot of
Um,
nurses over here, I take a little bit of a poop on the old nurses as a profession. Not because some of them are actually very competent, and many of them, especially the older ones, are better than the doctors at doing this job.
well,
They've been
that's
around long
true
enough.
everywhere.
So, but the younger ones especially, they get this sense of entitlement, this sense of this arrogance about them because they're a nurse and they're making pretty good money. Nurses make okay money in America,
I imagine.
especially the higher up you go. Um, but the reality is their job only exists because doctors don't want to do it. That's just the truth. Everything they're doing, a doctor knows how to do and could do easily. They just don't want. They don't got time. They got shit to do. So their job is effectively to just do the shit doctors don't want to do. And there's nothing wrong with that. Most jobs are that, by the way. So there's nothing necessarily wrong with that, but it starts to become a problem when you start to get this arrogance, right? Like you're better than other people. It as my whole life I've been around medical professionals. My mother was a manager at a hospital, and then my wife worked as a nurse's assistant for years, for 11 years, give or take. So I've been around medical professionals a very, very long time, and I can tell you that a lot of these people have a very unearned arrogance. Even the doctors. They're doctors, great. You're a pretty smart guy, most likely, or at least you're able to hyper focus on something to learn it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. You're also an idiot outside of that. So many of them are they're dumb, like stupid dumb. Like if they weren't a doctor, they'd be done. They'd be toast in society. They
Yeah,
can't
I've met some
organize their
like that.
life.
Yeah.
They can't even read a watch. Like what?
Yeah,
How do
it's
you
weird.
function?
It's weird.
How do
Yeah.
you function?
Yeah.
It's
I
amazing to see.
I hate to interrupt you, but I have a very
Yeah,
important question that needs to be answered.
let's see. Let's see.
Alan, Alan, did you bring enough empanadas for everyone?
Eat the empanadas. I'm not a big unless they're steak empanadas.
Yeah.
Then maybe
Yeah.
we can
I know.
talk. We can
This is.
barter.
I need an answer to this question. So Grimlock's still not back, huh? That's all right. But
Nope.
anyway,
Nope.
little unicorns. They're so special, and the thing is, we see this come out of them a lot. The hate you give.
Um,
Yes.
the question of do I have empathy?
Hmm.
Not a whole hell of a lot because these people don't fucking deserve it.
That's right. You and I are together. You can go watch out for
Yeah.
that Thundera
You're
guy.
sociopaths. That's fine. That's
Yeah.
fine. We need those too.
Yeah.
I'm not. I wouldn't say so much as a sociopath. It's just I've always considered myself more logical, and logically speaking, these people are undeserving.
It's funny because
Oh.
for a long time, I used to think I was some form of autistic, genuinely. And then I found out what that actually means. And it basically means someone who doesn't process empathy. They just can't do it. Their brain, that's not how it works.
Hmm.
Well, I'm the complete opposite of
I'm
that,
still
so I'm not
focusing on the
autistic.
empanadas. I don't give a shit. Alan, every flavor, even mulatto. Damn it, Alan. Okay, fine. But my point being with this girl, and so many like her, they go on about the hate you give, right? Or they keep talking about that, but they
Yeah,
never. They're so unaware that they can't see that the hate that they give. Because
correct.
you see about, oh, we're inclusive, we're all this diversity, all that stuff, which okay, fine, we've had this forever, we are Americans,
Yep.
but yet they're incredibly reductive, like Leslie wanted to say. They have nothing but hate for everybody who's not in their little bubble. So
Or
Well, that's
pays deference to their little bubble. Yeah.
right,
that's because again they're delusional people,
they are
and the hate that they give is some sort of a get back towards white people because something systemic racism,
right.
That's
something oppression. It's like, bitch, your black mama fucked a Jew and had you.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Where was the oppression?
yeah.
Who
Where's
was
the
oppressed
oppression? She was
in this
stepping up,
equation?
baby, like the
Yeah.
Jeffersons.
You
Hey, listen,
you
the
was
Jews did
born
it.
you was born in a well-to-do household. You wasn't
Yeah.
poor, wasn't on EBT. You wouldn't fucking heat in your house with the oven, kerosene heaters,
Yeah.
Right.
or
Mhm.
or a stack of fucking blankets like
I
actual
have
poor
a
people
sneaking
do.
suspicion, except for when they wanted to for some reason, they never subsided on any form of drink. That just didn't happen.
Oh
They didn't
no,
need
no,
no
oh
purple
no.
drink or no orange drink. They were
She
all right.
she
She
No,
had the
she
juice. Yeah,
she had actual juice.
juice,
We
that's
real
right.
had
juice.
drink.
Yeah. No,
That's
it's
right. We
it's
had the drink.
amazing,
We
right?
we we had colored diabetes.
That's
We
right.
did.
Yes.
We did. And of course, my mom was always on the food stamp stuff, so I know what
Yep.
that is. We always had that big giant block of government cheese that came in the brown
Oh yeah.
packaging. I mean, Jesus. So, please,
Yep.
you fuck right off.
Yep.
It,
Um,
yeah. You didn't have if you didn't have the government cheese, you didn't you didn't walk out into the world with a dollar in your hand and thought you had some money because you could actually buy a little Debbie's cake and a
damn
soda
right.
and
That's right. Twinkies for
or
me.
if you're in the hood,
Yeah.
little hug. You in the hood, you know about little hug.
Good old Twinkies.
So
I love Twinkies.
Yeah.
I'll
yeah,
fuck up a Twinkie right
Yeah,
now. Don't even put
yeah,
it near me.
that's true. Um, but that's the thing. So many of us of all colors understand poverty. You see,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
and it's not a black thing.
No. No.
Yeah,
No. They're
it's
just
not.
worse at it. I'm just
Yeah.
gonna say what it is. They're just not as good at it as other people, and
Well,
that
the
makes
ones
them
that get
mad.
stuck
Well,
in
get
that
better.
ghetto bubble, yeah.
Yeah.
The ones that are
Yeah.
outside are just normal Americans. They got a shot, just like the rest of us
Believe it
got.
or not, you can get out.
You
You don't
can.
have to
You
stay
don't
there.
have to
No
be a
one's
football
forcing you.
player
There's no
or a
guns.
basketball player either.
Yeah, it can be done.
Yeah.
My parents did it. That my dad, both my mother and my father, for different times in their life, grew up in, we'll call them interesting neighborhoods, and all of their brothers and sisters got out.
Yeah, just get out
The
of the
reason I
bubble,
grew
dude.
up in the country is because they got out. They went and bought a cheap house out in the
Yeah.
country on the corner of County Road 1 and B, and that's where I grew up
Yeah.
because they
Here,
got out.
here's what I want to know. This the I want to know because I'm sure it's an outside agent. I want to know who is the outside agent that tells these people that when they do something that sucks to
Yeah.
immediately blame it on racism.
Oh, they're called Democrats.
Yeah,
Well,
mostly, yeah.
besides them, now, I'm talking about who's the agent, the marketing
Al
personnel that they're listening to.
Sharpton.
Because no, no, nobody listens to Al Sharpton unless they get their ass whooped.
Well, they
That's the
used to.
rule.
Jesse
Oh,
Jackson.
Yeah.
Any of
because
the rappers talking about white man this or that. It's mainly the Democrats, the liberal Democrats, that are doing all this
Well,
shit.
they're the middle managers of it. They're the ones implementing it.
Oprah.
yeah,
It's actually been coming down. This is one of the reasons why I'm so anti-Disney and always have been. This stuff has been coming down from the corporate world for decades. Decades. They've been
see,
pushing
that's what I'm
various
saying.
forms of it. And they do
Who is
this because
in
it
there?
drives sales for them, but it also they have masters, and those masters have decided that a divided society is much easier to rule than a unified one. So when the American people put this stuff aside and actually try to move on, suddenly, oh, look at that! A cop shot a black guy, and the media
Well,
spins the narrative that it was he was on his knees begging for his life, like they did in Ferguson, and a cop just shot him anyway,
right,
which was a complete lie.
yeah.
Never happened. Totally made up.
You got to understand, Democrats, particularly Republicans, to a point as well. But Republicans, their whole way of doing their job is through fear. You got to be afraid. Ethereal Dragon High back. Just Alan's got empanadas. You should get yours.
Yeah, he's got him.
Oh,
He
yeah.
brought him
He's
in.
got them. But let's
He said he had steak
continue.
ones too.
Oh, he did. He said he had mulatto ones too, which I'm a bit concerned. But nevertheless, let's move away from this little unicorn.
Those are steak and chicken empanadas. They're mixed.
Oh,
Yeah.
mm,
Yeah.
yeah,
was
that's true. But let's go on to another little rainbow unicorn.
Oh boy, this one, Doctor Whore. Well,
Yeah, go with that.
Doctor
Yeah,
Who.
pretty much.
That's more
Scores
Pretty
worst
much.
ratings
That's
for
accurate.
season finale. Bro, I haven't watched Doctor Who in any kind of serious way in probably a decade, if I'm being honest.
It's like a decade. Yeah.
And I love this. There was a time where this would have made me very, very sad, even when I wasn't watching it, because I didn't want Doctor Who to fail. Now I do. I want it to fail. I want it to be burnt down. They've already destroyed it. So all
Sure.
this skinwalker is walking around in the flesh of the Doctor, in the husk. I want it to die the death that it deserves, which is slow, miserable, and painful.
Right.
So that maybe, just maybe, like the mighty Phoenix, we can resurrect it at a later time.
Maybe.
But for now, it's
take a
not.
while.
Yeah, it doesn't need to exist.
No,
Same
it
with
doesn't.
Star Wars, any of them. We're good.
It's just another example of not understanding the character. The Doctor is an asexual character. Let's be fair. He's not a
I would say you're
sexualized
giving them too much credit. I think they knew that. They did this on
Of
purpose.
course they knew. They all know. This is
Yeah.
all about destruction. Look at all
That's
the
right.
stuff that's being attacked. It is things that men like. I've been
That's right.
saying this for years.
What's
This is
amazing,
intentional.
they bitch about masculinity and toxic masculinity and all that stuff for years. They've been bitching about it. And then they go after the Doctor?
Yeah,
You
this
can't get a better
non-sexual character.
representation of positive masculinity in one. I don't know if there's a better one in all of sci-fi, because
that's true.
he's not a sex pest. He's not degrading people for anything like that. He stands up for people. He's compassionate and concerned and
He's a
caring.
hero.
He's a hero in all respects. So yeah, he's a little weird, but okay, so what? But other than that,
Well,
what
he's
more do you want
British.
from a man? You know what I'm like? Be honest. That's the problem. Is the people who ingest this stuff and take it in and become true believers. Most of these people aren't true believers. They're just doing it
Wow.
because they hate people.
She's thicker than he is.
Yeah. The true believers of it, they don't ever sit back and say, okay, well, what do I want? You know, I've had people who want certain things on the internet, whether it's internet beefs or anything else. And the question you have to step back, and maybe this is just as you get older, you start to realize, what does winning look like? What does victory mean? What does that mean? Well, if I keep down this path of this contention with this person, what does it look like if I win? What is the win condition? And if you don't have one, then you've already lost. You've already lost. Because you've become nothing but a psychopath. You become nothing but an obsessive. It's not about winning or losing. It's just about hurting people. And that's what these people are. This is about hurting people.
And Ethereal Dragon says they're blaming it on because the weather is nice, so people aren't watching. That's their excuse.
Wait, no. I was just told very recently by Twitter.com that Britain was about to have a heat wave, Chester, of, wait for it, 79 degrees Fahrenheit.
Oh my God. Global warming is real.
How did they survive? Oh. Is the island still there? Did it burn down?
Yeah.
Is it gone? Well, how did they survive?
There was another little side thing on that. The Olympics, of course, the IOC has decided they're not going to have any air conditioning in the athletes' village because, global warming. And America and a whole bunch of other countries said, okay, fine, we'll bring our own.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't we? But another thing, just as an example, if they brought in a black doctor, okay, fine. Well, we'll see how it goes. You could have a black doctor. It's possible. So it could be cool. But the problem is, look at this guy. He's way too cool to be a doctor. Look at the way he's dressed. Look at this up here. This is not the doctor. The doctor is frumpy. He's very
zany.
frumpy.
He's a wizard.
He
He's the
is.
old
He's the
wizard.
mad scientist.
Yes.
He's absent-minded. He's frumpy and he's disorganized and messy. He's
You are
not
giving him
cool.
way too much credit. That dude ain't cool. He's a
That's
fucking
not the
twink.
point. He is a twink.
He's
But I'm
trying to be
I'm
cool.
talking about the
no,
people that
no, no,
dressed
no,
him,
no.
not him.
Let's
I'm talking about
call
the
it
people that
what it
dressed
is.
him.
He's
it matters.
attempting to look cool. Whether or not he does or
Yes,
not is material.
My-
it matters because they picked him because he was a twink. It ain't got nothing to do with
Yeah.
him being cool.
No, I
They
get that.
picked him because he was a black twink.
I understand that. But it's what I'm trying to put forward is
If
that
he had
they don't
if he had an ounce of
understand the
masculinity.
character
Oh, they
at
understood.
all.
That's why they picked him. Because if he had an ounce of
I agree.
masculinity, the nigga wouldn't have got the job. That's why.
He is very, very effeminate. That is
If
true.
he wasn't over there prancing like a little ballerina, they wouldn't have hired.
Yeah, he is super gay. Kind of like that Oscar, what is his name? Oscar Isaacs. That is
If
a
he
mega twink.
if he came in there with Idris Elba, Keith
I still
David
don't
sort
know
of
what a twink
energy,
is, but I'm going with it. I like
You're looking at
Twinkies.
one.
tag it.
You're
How
looking at
about
one.
that?
Oh, I know what that is.
All right.
Is that the modern word?
No, it's
It's one
a
of them.
word that's used in the quote gay by gay men. Like, basically, it's a very pretty, effeminate gay man. Basically,
So
usually younger too.
the flamboyant gay.
Yeah, but they have to actually be attractive. They can't just be obnoxious.
Well, he's
That
not
makes sense.
attractive at all.
Yeah, it's a gay man problem.
Oh,
But they'll fuck anything,
he's got a
even little
mustache
boys,
though. That's just,
at an incredibly high percentage.
but whatever. But another rainbow unicorn here, of course, failing miserably. He's so
Excellent.
special. It's everybody else's fault. It's the weather's fault, right?
And I would say, no, I would not have been okay with the black. I'm actually more offended at the black doctor than I am the gay doctor, because he's not black. The doctor is an
Yeah, but if
Englishman.
it was done
Well, he's an
super
English,
cool, it would.
English, whatever you call it, right? He's an English icon. He should stay English. And I'm sorry, black folks, you're not English. You can live in England.
you know
That's fantastic, but you're not English.
That's true.
Here's my thing with that. If they wanted to do that, because you could do if you wanted to do a black doctor, how about you do a black doctor set in Africa? Right?
Yeah.
A
You have
different
multiple Time
maybe.
Lords.
Yeah.
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 Do it like they did with the fucking Ghost Riders. There's Ghost
Sure.
Riders on every fucking continent.
Well,
The
there are
only
many
difference
Time
is
Lords.
the Ghost
Gallo-
Riders was never supposed to be aware of
Right.
the other's existence.
Right. And the
You could do the
Gallifreyans
same
are
thing with the
like a
Time
planet
Lord,
of people.
where
So.
Yes.
got an African Doctor Who in Kenya or whatever, and he thinks he's the only doctor. Just like the Brit
Well,
thinks he's the only
it
doctor.
doesn't work like that. But I get your point.
I'm saying you could
You
do
could.
that.
But then again,
If you had an ounce of creativity.
You could have.
Right.
Here's how you could do it very easily, because you got time travel shenanigans. They're both in the same time stream, but on different timelines, and then you could easily do a crossover, like a season finale, where their timelines connect.
Right.
But and that could be interesting. You can see
It
what
could be. But
the fallback.
my point with this though is we have a very good example for us, an analogous example. Nick Fury, white guy, always a white guy.
Yes.
The Hoff himself played him, right?
That's right.
But they brought in Sam Jackson to play it. No one blinked an eye because Sam Jackson's freaking awesome, and he plays the role really well, right?
Yep.
So I'm just saying, if you did something like that, it could work. It's just giving us not only a black guy, but an effeminate one, or a lady, or this guy very white guy, who was brought in just to set all this up. It's all bullshit.
But even with the Nick Fury thing, that was multiverse shenanigans.
Yep.
And then when they decided, okay, we're not going to do multiverses for a whole 4 fucking years, they said, oh well, we'll just have it so that's the Black Fury is the original Nick's son.
Is that what they did?
Yes.
Okay.
In the comics, yeah.
He's a bit too
That's how
black
they
for
got-
that, but whatever.
That's how they got to the Black Fury.
But
yeah.
I'm just saying, we all like Sam Jackson doing
Like
it
I
because
said,
he's cool.
Like I said, 15 years ago, it wouldn't have been as big a deal. I would still be pissed about the Doctor, because I think he's a cultural icon. It's like James Bond. You don't fuck with that cultural icon.
That would be like that would be like fucking casting Keanu Reeves as the next Shaft. Okay.
Yeah, well, I'd be there
exactly.
for
Now
it though.
people love
My wife
Keanu Reeves,
That
definitely
would
but
be
don't
great.
fucking
It
do
would
it.
be great.
it would
But
be
yeah,
great.
no, they wouldn't do. It's
Like,
there's
yo,
certain
man, it's
characters
like,
that grow
can you dig it?
beyond entertainment as just a figment of entertainment, right? I would say obviously James Bond and the Doctor are two great examples of that. In Britain, and they're English. Englishmen are white. I know the BBC would have you believe otherwise, but yes, the English are a white. The Anglicans are a white people. Uh,
Yeah.
the There's others, of course, all over the world. I think like you can go to America. You got Superman. I don't like Black Superman. I don't care how cool some of them have been, and some of them have been. The concept of it is insulting to me because
Yeah,
the
leave it
character
be.
has a very
Certain things should
specific
be
what he's
left alone.
supposed to
You're right.
be.
But
It feels like cultural vandalism, and the reason why I know it is because you couldn't do it the other way. You did it the
no,
other way, you'd be all kinds of racist. So
that's
wait a
right.
minute,
I'm still
hold
on the
on.
Keanu Reeves shaft. Like, wow,
I mean
bitch, get on
that's
this
basically
knob.
a less vulgar or a more vulgar version of John Wick, so it could work.
Nah, dude, I would love to see Keanu Reeves try to be Shaft. That would be awesome.
Keanu is not good with the vulgarity. I don't know if he could pull it off with Shaft because Shaft
Yeah.
has to be a little
Well,
crass.
I mean, if you go with the Richard Roundtree approach, yeah,
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah, yeah.
Richard Roundtree was smooth as fuck.
He was
that's
smooth as
true.
shit. But the thing is with Roundtree though, you could also have a scene with a girl and he's kind of sexing her up, and you believe, oh yeah, he's gotta work that, he's gotta work her out, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Keanu, he is a heartthrob. Girls like him, but I can't actually imagine Keanu doing a sex scene. I don't think he's got that.
I can't imagine Keanu being skilled at coitus.
No, I can't. Yeah,
I don't see it. I don't see it.
but
Might be a fantastic boyfriend or whatever, husband, but
yeah,
there's a part of that I think his game would be lacking, and that'd
yeah, I
be it.
have it. You know what I mean? It's weird.
Yeah.
Whereas Roundtree, that, oh yeah, that's a man.
Oh yeah,
It's
yeah,
all
yeah.
man.
He probably broke many a hips.
That's
Yeah,
right. He's a
yeah.
hip breaker. Yeah.
I, I'm just saying this is where Chester, I'm a bit empathetic because I understand what it's like when you see somebody break your shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's certain things you just don't fuck with. It's like, no,
Right.
you don't fuck with James Bond. You don't fuck with Doctor Who. You don't fuck with Shaft. You don't fuck with
Right.
Superfly or the Mac.
Mm-mm.
There's certain things you just don't fuck with.
Yeah.
You know, you don't fuck with those kind of things. That would be like right now if you fucking rebooted Xeno Warrior Princess and you made her black, and I'm sure they would if they had the
Yep.
opportunity. They would.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Old
But
Lucy
It's
Lawless.
it's something we've all talked about, and there's whole huge communities now
That's
who
true
talk
though.
about it. And we say it's just make a new character. You can make him a friend of that character. You can put him in the same world as that character. Just make a new character
But then
because all you're doing.
they don't bite because it's not well written.
Well, that's exactly the problem. See, their argument is, well, then they don't sell. Yeah, because you made shit. And
Yeah.
instead of, I'm glad you made shit with a new character because then I don't have to see it no more. You didn't ruin the character I liked by giving him shit to do. If you would have made
well,
something awesome, it would like John Wick. John Wick's a completely original character. Everybody loves
I
John Wick.
I,
Nobody cares that Keanu's a half Asian. Nobody cares.
Whenever they say that, I counter them with this. Every one of us who's speaking in this chat right now, we're all older than Venom.
Yep.
We are older than Gambit.
Yep.
We are older than Bishop.
Mm-hmm.
We are older than Spawn. We are older than
That's right.
Deadpool. We're older than fucking Cable. All of those characters. Oh, we're older than Static.
Oh yeah.
You know that character.
The one they've intentionally forgotten exists. That's right. Yeah.
Yes.
Static.
Which is a shame.
We're all older than those characters, and they took the fuck off.
That's right.
And guess what? There was thousands of other characters we could name right now, of all backgrounds that did.
That's right.
Sure.
It's just the name of the game. When it comes to character creation, and I know these people don't want to hear it because they all think that every idea that they've ever shot out's a great idea. Character creation is literally throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks.
I will give you the best example of what we're talking about right now. The best example in my lifetime and in Grimlock's life. Well, yours too, Chester, but you were already older when it happened, is the Ninja Turtles. Ninja
Oh, yeah.
Turtles is a retarded concept when you break it down into its parts, into individual parts. When you put it together, it's fine. It's great, actually. It's awesome. But on its face, it's like, wait, what? They're actually turtles? They're not like people? No, yeah, they're turtles. They can talk and fight like ninjas. But why? And it just doesn't make sense on a like logically, of course, right? But because they executed it so well, and it's been executed so well multiple times throughout its different iterations, there have been some fuck ups too, but by and large, it's been pretty quality. Uh, it's they're iconic. They're huge. They're everybody knows the Ninja Turtles.
Most
To the
most
point.
successful indie comic of all time.
Yep. To the point. My niece, who is like 4, loves Donatello. Loves him. They're still killing it. The Turtles.
Yeah.
Because when you do it right, even if your character is silly and over the top, like really ridiculous, if you do it right, people will flock to it if it's
Sure.
good.
Well,
And it
Doctor
doesn't
Who
matter
is dumb as
about
shit on its surface.
yeah, exactly. So many characters when you actually stop, like, wait, what? That's really dumb. The Undertaker is the dumbest character ever conceived, but he's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. He doesn't make any sense. Why is there suddenly an undead wizard who can shoot lightning bolts? Professional wrestling.
Yeah.
Why does he only stay in professional wrestling? And why does he do the things who knows?
Right.
But you know what?
Yeah, but
It's cool.
Mark he understands patience.
That's right. He understood the assignment and he fulfilled it. He completed the task.
He did. Because I remember when Undertaker first came out, I was like, dumbass character.
Yeah.
But,
what is this?
But little by little, he made it work. And boy, I'm telling you, the pop when the lights go out and his music, and then he takes freaking 58 minutes to get to the ring. The whole damn time the crowd is popping like mad. Dude.
They love it. Dude. Love it. They're buzzing. Yeah. That energy.
Yeah.
That's my point, right? Like this argument that new characters don't sell. Yeah, because you're terrible writers. You're terrible at your job. That's why. If you were really good at your job, your new characters would sell. At one point, all of these perennial franchise huge characters were new characters.
Yeah.
They didn't just but there wasn't always Superman. That's not how it is.
Well, Superman.
Somebody made him.
But
yeah.
You have to grow into a lot of these characters. Like for instance, but Turtle's a little bit different. It's not my generation at all, but I get why it's popular. But something like, Hercules with Kevin Sorbo or Lucy Lawless's Xena, I didn't ever see the Xena one, but I watched the Hercules one. It's dumb as shit. It's horribly stupid. I was like, what's this crap? And I never watched it again. But boy, for that young generation, it hit, right? A lot of these things you have to grow up with,
Power Rangers, another great example. Terrible on paper.
Yeah. Some of it does grow. Like, for example,
Superman
X-Men
is an example.
X-Men did not take off the way that Spider-Man did, the way the Fantastic Four did. It was successful, but it wasn't on that consistent level that those franchises were.
Until Claremont.
Spider-Man and Fantastic Four didn't have, not even, Ween and Cockerum. It always sucks that they always get forgotten, those two. Because they kicked it off. That second Genesis was 3 years before Claremont came along.
That's fair.
But they're saying some things do need time to grow. And unfortunately, a lot of characters don't get chances to grow these days. There's certain characters where it's like, on second thought, that character was cool. Like, I've said it before. As an adult, I have way more respect for Superman and what he represents than I did as a kid.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, but then there's other characters. But for other kids, Superman was awesome from day one.
Yeah, because Superman he's not what we're talking about here. It's a different thing. It's an iconic, it's a iconic goal. Batman also kind of was a hit from day one, but once again, it's a carbon copy of The Shadow, which was a mega smash hit.
I would say I only disagree with the idea that Superman now and for the last 50 years or so definitely is exactly what you said. But when he first came out, his first couple iterations were completely different from what he became. He couldn't even fly. He was bald. His very first appearance, the character
Well,
that they changed into
yeah,
Kal-El
but
and everything.
you know
He
what I
didn't have an
mean.
origin. He didn't have most of his power set. Like he was a very different character, but the morals of the character were the same.
Right.
The meat and potatoes were the same. So it did take him a little while, decades really, to find who that character would become, the icon it would become. But the only reason they were able to do that is because once they pivoted away from him being a villain and him being a hero, he hit a nerve very, very quickly.
He
Superman.
did. He did because he represents the ideal. But
Yes.
it's just a little bit different. But I get your point. Alan said he got into Hercules and Xena after seeing some bloopers. These people are having fun. Yeah, I believe that. Let us anyway. So let's look at our last little rainbow unicorn. So shall we?
Oh, here we go. Blade, blame Marvel, Mr. Ali, frustrate. What is this headline? Blade, blame Marvel, Ali frustrated, Wesley Snipes respond. This headline is schizophrenic.
It
What am I
is.
reading?
It is. But it's very interesting. Now, we've talked about this many times, just like we talked about the Acolyte. It's kind of dead, but it keeps producing interest. Now, we know that Mahershala Ali is not pleased with the situation. And to be honest with it,
You
in the
shouldn't be.
long run, they're going to lose him because the problem is we know the problem. Disney wants the female characters to be the main focus and him to be a side. Which why hire an Oscar guy? He's more expensive. Whatever. We've talked about all of that. We've talked about all of that. However, his lawyer has come forward and made some comments, and that Ali is very
Which
frustrated with the
which means he
situation.
made comments.
Right. But he's very frustrated with the situation. It's dumb, and he
It
doesn't
is.
understand the dumbness. And okay, fair enough, Mr.
Look at
Ali.
that, man. He's
But
ugh,
he
perfect.
he
He
would be
really
good.
is. He's a
It would
perfect
be good,
successor.
and we know how good he is. We know how
He
good it.
is.
We've seen him, dude.
And that
Um,
voice, bro. Come on.
hmm
Makes me wet, and I don't even have the body parts for
However, Wesley has who's going to be in rumored to be in Marvel's
all
Secret
this.
Wars, by the way. But
I see that.
Wesley has a comment on this, which is
How good
interesting.
Wesley looks. Look at that.
Oh
God,
yeah,
they nailed it.
yeah,
They
yeah,
absolutely nailed
yeah,
that shit, bro.
yeah. But his comment is this: Blade, lordy, lordy, lordy. Folks still looking for that secret sauce. Riding snowmobiles in traffic, kind of rough.
I
Daywalkers
just
made
hear
it look easy, don't they? Now,
I just hear Simon Phoenix.
yeah,
That just sounds like something Simon Phoenix would say.
right. That's true. That's true. But I'm just saying, it's interesting that Wesley Snipe finally decided to make a comment, and
Yeah.
it's like one of the most black comments I've ever heard in my life. You
Wesley's such
go,
a cool
you
dude.
go.
He just
Which
is.
Wesley's
He
never
just
been
rips
the black guy. He's never
it.
kind of been that type. I don't even know how he grew up, but so I've seen him sometimes with the hip hop guys, but I always thought that was publicity because I always got a feeling that Wesley grew up just as an American, not in the
Normal.
ghetto, right? I don't really know,
Let's
but
see.
I've never heard him
Find
speak
out.
like this. But Jesus, Grimlock, I told you I had a black thing coming up. I mean, let me go through that again. Blade, lordy, lordy, lordy. Folks still looking for that the secret sauce. Riding snowmobiles in traffic, kind of rough. Daywalkers make it look easy, don't they? I mean that's a ghetto comment if I've ever heard one. It's awesome
I love
though. It's
Wesley.
awesome. I
I
love it.
absolutely love Wesley Snipes. I
What do
do.
you think about Wesley's finally giving his opinion on this and basically dissing the hell out of them?
Well, what have we said about the Blade movie for every freaking time we've ever brought it up? The rule of cool, right?
Yeah, the rule of cool, man.
It was, it wasn't it's not the most complex story ever told.
Nope.
It's not this deep philosophical think
Mm-mm.
piece. It's none of that.
Nope.
What it is was a really cool character doing really cool shit over and over again.
He
And
caught
we
his
just wanted to
glasses
see,
in midair and then put them on.
He
and
did.
want
He did.
and you
He did.
wanted and you just wanted to see more of it. That's all you. It's like you didn't you didn't have to have things explained to you. You didn't need things to make sense. You just wanted more of it. And
The best lore. It always
Disney,
is.
because of what they have stood for over the last however long, they have clearly decided that they don't want to do that. And they really don't want to do that with this black male character. Because you already got lucky. I'm gonna mention it again. You got lucky that Chadwick died. So you didn't have to worry about how you was gonna emasculate him and take the role from
Yeah,
him, because
isn't
you was
that sad?
going to do that. I will remind people what happened to Black Panther 2 was the plan all along. They just got there a little bit faster than they expected because Chadwick died.
Yep.
If you're foolish enough to think that they was gonna let Chadwick continue in that role
Yeah,
as a positive role model, especially when every black male on TV or in the movies are faggots. Going back to Doctor Who,
Yep.
if you thought that that was gonna happen, you was smoking some good shit.
yeah, they
And
don't
I
like
wish I
black
could have got
women.
a and
That
I
is
wish I
They
true.
could
don't
have
like
got a
them.
hit of whatever you were smoking.
They don't like them.
Blade
Not fans.
is rule of cool. He's masculine. They've wanted to do this thing with the daughter shit from starting with Marvel Now
Oh, they've been
back
doing
in
it, yeah, for a while.
2015.
Yeah, yeah.
They've been barking up this tree for almost 10 years now. People think that this is just something that happened in the movie.
No,
No, they wanted to do this in the comics too. And
no.
the only reason it did not happen in the comics was by some chance the guy who came up with this dumb idea was a white guy, and he picked a bad time to be a white guy with ideas. Um,
Yeah,
that's the only reason he didn't get to carry it
right.
out.
Well,
That's
no.
the only reason they shelved it, but they loved the concept of it.
Yeah, well, it's a very good point because at least the white guys we can still be bad guys, but the
Yep.
black dude, man, nah, you got to be gay or get out. I mean, that's obviously what's going on, and it's a shame. But I do love Wesley just giving him some sizzle, man. He's like, you bastards can't run nothing, and it's a
It's
shame because I think we all would love to see this Blade. I
yeah,
really like this actor. I mean, he was so good as Cottonmouth. One of the dumbest things I ever seen. Them killing him off. You moron.
yes,
Spoilers. Fuck it. Go watch him and then shut it off. When he dies,
yeah.
that's the end of it.
That's what I did.
Yeah.
I was done. See ya.
Dude, he was so clean as Cottonmouth, dude.
He was.
It was really, really, really good. So I would love to see this guy as Blade. I think he'd be cool, and he would have a very different vibe than Wesley, because Wesley's kind of that old school cool, right?
Yes.
Which can be a little awkward. There's a couple moments that it's slightly awkward, like when he does the fist pump and smiles showing the teeth. Yeah, I get it, but it's a little bit, that's on the edge, right? Um,
Right.
but um, but he would have a very different groove, and I really want to see it. I really want to see it. The problem is we ain't, because this drama's been going on for years. He's got
Yep.
enough push to still be there and trying to argue with him, but they've gone through so many directors. We know what Disney wants. It's just, man, fuck off and get someone in there and give Ali and let him be Blade, just full on. Screw all your other shit. Just give us a Blade movie. I mean, you'd make money.
Yeah, they would. And I did look it up. Mr. Snipes. I'll just read it to you. He was born in Orlando, Florida,
Hmm.
the son of Marion, a teacher's assistant, and his father, Wesley Rudolph Snipes, who was an aircraft engineer.
Yeah,
He grew up in the Bronx, New York, and attended the High School of Performing Arts, LaGuardia High School of Music and Arts. Basically, he was grooming himself from a very young age to
yeah.
be in show
Well,
business.
yeah. I've always felt that Wesley was just an American. Just
Yeah,
American, right? Whereas
pretty much.
Sam, now I don't Samuel L. Jackson we talked about. Now, I don't know his background, but he always wants to present himself as the ghetto black. Sam has always wanted
Yeah,
to do that. I don't know the truth of it, but for him it works. Because you get a lot of these, like Drake. He's a very popular singer, been around a while, still making money. And
yeah,
he's just a rich boy. There's nothing black about him as far as ghetto. There's nothing ghetto about him. He's just, I don't even think he's American. I think he's Canadian, but whatever. He's just a dude. a normal person of his country. He's not, ghetto. And Wesley never gave off this vibe. Neither does Ali. He doesn't give that vibe either, which is fine because it could work both ways. Like I said, Sam goes that way, and it works fine for him, right?
Yep.
Like
Yeah.
50 Cent. I love how 50 Cent, Mike Tyson, a lot of these older black dudes are just kind of in their like YouTube vibe, their commentary vibe, and they're like, fuck that shit. Yeah, I love it.
Well, at
Yeah.
least Sam has a little bit more of the unfortunate stereotypical cred because he was raised by his mom because his dad basically pissed off and died of alcoholism.
Yeah,
So
well, yeah.
there you go.
Well, he does give
Um,
that vibe, right?
yeah, yeah. But no, this is how you know these people aren't serious people. The things they say they believe in, they don't actually believe in. This is how you know that it's all a grift or some form of just cope or something other than what they say. Because Blade should be everything they're about. Everything. They should love
Yeah.
Blade. They should want to
Well,
make Blade. But they don't.
yeah, they don't. And I kind of hope all I can do is I think this thing is dead. But the only thing I can hope is this. Because he's a black dude and he's got some push, maybe in the end they'll just acquiesce and
Yep.
just make the movie he wants to make.
Here's what's crazy is with Blade, because it's such a rule of cool character, the only one who has to be truly cool is Blade.
Yep.
Right? You can have goofy characters around him,
Can.
whatever, dorks around him. So if you wanted to do it focus more on like a side character, you could do that as long as Blade is still very much a presence, very much there, and say he just is there. You know what I mean? Like he's kind of like Jaws. He's kind of like the shark. He's a constant presence, a constant problem that other people are having to deal with. Maybe you make it about like a reporter or something, and she's trying to track down this vigilante who's killing all these what she thinks are people. Uh, and she gets dragged into it that way, and then by the
Sure.
end he becomes more central. You could do it. You could actually do that and have it be focused on a female character
Yeah, have
as
him be
long
the
as you
shark.
nailed
You could
Blade.
do that. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
the
But
thing
that's
is,
not what they're going to do. They want to
yeah,
emasculate him and replace him. That's what they want to do.
but they're killing time here. I mean, this has
Yep.
been years, right? Get the movie
Yep.
out, make it cool, make money, make another one, then make another one, and it'll die somewhere.
This
But
should be a
we
cheap
could
one
easily
they
have
could
two or
do
three of
too.
these movies, dude.
Blade should be cheap. He doesn't have any crazy superpowers. He's not shooting lightning bolts out of his ass or anything.
No.
He's got swords and guns, and he's real tough and a vampire guy. That's it. He should be cheap and easy, like a John Wick level budget. Shouldn't be too much more than that.
Well,
So this should be an easy, especially since apparently they're willing to do R-rated movies as they did with the Deadpool one. Yeah, do it. Just make a nice little, basically a John Wick ripoff or whatever, but make it about Blade.
sure.
And I think most people will be happy with that, as long as it was dripping with cool,
Yeah.
dripping with
But
it.
that just goes to show you how devoted they are. The zealotry that is going on in Disney right now. That this movie, like you said, no more than $100 million should be spent on this movie.
Not even close.
Yeah,
The-
you could get away with 50.
I mean, to be honest, you could probably get away with 50 if
Yeah,
You can even do less than that. I mean, the second
I'm
one
just saying.
was expensive
that-
because they brought Guillermo in.
I'm just saying. Even then, bring him back. This is not hard, but
Yeah.
the zealotry here, and people forget how much development hell this movie's been in.
Years.
Just for the sake, just so people realize, when they talked about bringing back Blade, one of the excuses was, "Oh, Wesley's too old." Well, guess what? This movie has been in such a development hell. Marshala is almost as old as Wesley was when they said he was too old.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So
Now we got the black don't crack thing, but
yeah, but we're also past shit or get off the pot.
that's true.
But the problem is
I
they
was
wanted
just trying
this
to
message.
represent.
They wanted this message. They don't want a black masculine figure because, let's be honest, Black Panther, a lot of people are going to hate hearing this. That was a propaganda piece. They know that black people spend. All you got to do is throw some shit in about blackness, and some fucking melanin and
Hmm.
some shit about slavery, which is
Hmm.
full all in this fucking movie.
Yeah,
And you got black, and you have the
dude.
black dollar.
You know
That's
how many
all you
black
had to
people
do.
actually thought Wakanda was real,
Yes, too many.
dude?
That's how many.
There's a
We
reason
need
there
to
at the bottom.
emigrate ourselves to Wakanda.
There's
That
a
wasn't it.
reason black folks at the bottom of everything in this country, unfortunately, and it's stupid shit like that.
Yeah, and the sad thing about that Black Panther movie is it wasn't very good. There were a couple of points.
No,
The dude who played the White Ape, that guy, I liked him. He was cool. What's
Marco
that boy that everyone thinks is the second coming? What's his name?
or Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah, that guy. He's a fair actor. You
He's a
had the
he's a good actor, but he was by that point I got tired of seeing.
Yeah, it's true.
He
Too
had
much of
been
it.
in everything.
You had Gollum, which he can do his thing. Unfortunately, the Chadwick Boseman was kind of boring, dude. Yeah,
Yep.
and it just and the Shiri character was annoying as shit. Of course, super racist. But
Well,
whatever.
the other problem, just from a storytelling perspective, is T'Challa was the bad guy. I don't care
Yeah, oddly,
until for some reason Killmonger decided to just be evil out of nowhere. T'Challa was literally breaking the law. They broke their own traditions and rules. Like there was nothing about that was honorable
yeah,
or something you should aspire. Like where at what point was he cheated? He wasn't cheated. He was beat. He just got beat,
he got beat. That's true, and that's
and they
their
couldn't deal
rule.
with that.
Yeah,
Yeah, they wouldn't let
but
that happen.
still, that actor who was playing White Ape, what's his name? I love that guy. He was awesome.
He's good.
They should make a movie just with him. They won't.
The Winston.
That's
Well,
hilarious that his name's Winston.
again. Also to show how short sighted Disney is. Well, one of my biggest complaints is of them unnecessarily killing them.
Yep.
You kill off Claw. What could you have used Claw as an introduction for? Oh, the fucking Fantastic Four.
Oh, a lot of
But
things.
nah,
Yeah. They do that a lot.
you
That's
decided
true.
to kill them off and hire a untalented, dusty fucking janitor as Reed Richards.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know. They're idiots. But let's move on because my time is coming to an end. So let's move on to something that we actually give a shit about.
Yeah, this looks good, Chester. It looks
No
good.
rainbow unicorns here.
No, I didn't see too much rainbow representation. Now it
No,
might be there,
no,
but I didn't see it.
yeah. But we got another trailer, guys. I'm going to watch it.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good.
Yeah.
Uh,
I haven't
yeah,
seen it yet,
this
so no
is
spoilers. Look at that. Look at that. Yeah.
this might what's great about this trailer, if it's the one I think it is, there's not really any spoilers in there either. They did a very because a lot of times trailers are they say way too much.
Mhm.
This one looks just about right. So yeah, I'm
Why
excited.
has Colin Farrell not actually won a Academy Award yet? Oh, that's right, because the Academy is bullshit. Oh, well,
That's correct.
fair
Yes.
enough. Because this
That's
guy
the
has
accurate.
just been in some amazing.
He
He's a
has
really good actor.
he has
Shocking.
more range, Chester, than the space shuttle. This guy's everywhere. He's all over the
No,
place.
no, that's a very true statement. A lot of people sometimes give too much credit for character actors being, true chameleons, right?
Yeah.
This dude is the real deal. He's Val Kilmer level, right?
Yeah. Without
Um,
the insanity. Yes.
without the insanity and of course the sadness of losing his voice. But nevertheless, I'm going to watch it. Here we go.
I'll be calling the shots.
They might kick
Okay,
us
wait,
off.
hold on a second. Hold on, I gotta go back. Oh,
I'll be calling the shots.
oh, we had the teaser for the teaser. Okay, this is the end of the
Teaser for
last
the
movie,
teaser. Yep.
right? New York's in. Oh, Gotham
Look at
is in
this.
a bad place.
What that madman did.
Yep. Uh-oh.
Listen, Sal. Carmine Falcone's dead,
Look at him.
and I'm here now.
Look
I'll
at
be
him.
calling the shots.
True. All right.
The Falcones are still licking their wounds.
Uh-oh.
They're distracted. The business will be ripe for the taking.
My father's been dead a week.
You want to take what's mine?
I'm the daughter of the Falcon Don, but he's dead.
Oh, wow.
The
So
family
they're not
thinks
going to
I'm
make it easy
broken.
for him, which is
I'm
great.
not broken.
I love it.
You and me, kid. We gotta take whatever we
Batman
decide is ours.
Sopranos.
Yeah. Well, that's what
No one's
Penguin
gonna
is,
give it to
right?
us.
He's a mafioso.
We're not
It's
out
the
to
thing they
fight.
don't touch in any of these comic book
Penguin,
movies. Really,
you
they don't
work for
really
the
get into the
family.
underworld.
You will do
Let's
as
get
you're
into
told.
it.
I
Gotham's
refuse to
underworld's
let these
awesome.
old men push me aside again. So I'm gonna take from them now. And I'm gonna force them to their knees.
Now,
Is it you're really after us?
Look at him.
having
I
the
love it.
daughter,
From the inside out.
You know, Oz, people underestimate you, but not me. I've always known you were capable of more.
now, is
I
he?
hate they use that same fucking music in every goddamn trailer. I can't
That's
stand
true.
it.
That is
I want
true.
to shoot the guy who came up with that, drag his dead corpse in traffic.
Fair enough.
Batman fly.
However, it looks like they have Falcon's daughter. Okay, fine. And she wants to keep power. Now, is she going to be the direct rival of Penguin, or is she going to kind of get close and use him and try to betray him? Now, we know the comic book, therefore, uh, in the end, Penguin should be victorious, right?
It would make sense, yeah.
Yeah. I'm
They
kind of wondering
obviously
if they're
plan
going
on
to twist
using
it on
him.
us, though.
Well, they might, but they obviously plan on using him in future films. So this is setting that up,
Well, Colin's
and it
eating it
would.
up, dude. He's eating it up.
Oh, he's so good. He's so. How can you can't get rid of that? You can't. You just can't do it. He was the best part of that movie, and that movie was great. So he was the best part of a great movie as the Penguin. He had probably the most iconic scene in that entire thing was with the chase with the Batmobile, with the
Yeah,
flames and the
it was
Batmobile
great.
coming out.
Yeah.
Just so good. So I don't think you're getting rid of him. Plus, he's the Penguin. Why get rid of him? Great character. I think, yeah, that's
I'm
probably
just
what's
saying,
going to
you know
happen.
how they are.
Yeah.
The
But I don't know if
family thinks
Reeves
I'm
is. I know
broken.
Reeves is a super lib,
I'm
but
not
I
broken.
haven't seen him do it in his films.
No,
So
that's
we'll
true.
see
You and me,
if
kid.
he crosses that
We
line
gotta
or
take
not.
whatever we decide is ours. Because no one's gonna
So
give it to
good.
us.
He's so good. He's so good.
We're not without a fight.
Penguin, you work for the family.
I
You will
like
do as you're
the
told.
the
I
Tony
refuse
Soprano
to let
take
these
though.
old
It's
men
good.
push me aside again.
It's
So I'm
good.
gonna take from them now. And I'm gonna
Because
force
this
them to their
Batman
knees.
is a different
Is
beast
it you're really
in this
after
world so
us?
far.
Look, and look, we got Clancy
Tear down
too.
the Empire
Got
from the
I love
Clancy.
inside.
Clancy.
All right.
Can't go wrong with honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if at the
You
end
know,
of it,
Oz,
because I'd imagine they
people
plan on doing more
underestimate
than
you,
one
but not
season
me.
of this. At the end of this, if
I've always
Clancy
known
isn't
you were capable of more.
out of jail and causing problems, because why bring in that character if you're not going to use him?
Yeah, no, I can see maybe season 1 he gets betrayed and he finds
Yep.
himself on the skids, and then season 2 he comes back and that's fine. But
I could even see a situation where, at first, to some degree, him and Batman are very what's the word I'm looking for? Not allies, but they stay away from each other for the most part. As long as Penguin stays in his lane, Batman lets him exist for a while. Until,
Right.
of course, something causes that to not happen anymore.
right.
But what it feels like to me their plan is here is this character was incredibly popular, obviously, but it feels like they're doing this to set him up to be a major villain for this Batman later. So if they have a relationship beyond just Batman versus Penguin, at some point it would set up a lot of tension and drama. So I have a feeling that's what's going to happen here.
Yeah.
Is eventually he might even be the last villain that this Batman has to actually deal with.
Well, it's kind of interesting to me. I wouldn't have expected this Grimlock, but it almost feels like what we're looking at here for a great actor in Colin Farrell, where we might be looking at potentially his magnum opus, right? This character could define him completely to the general normie audience, right? And I never would have expected for an actor like Colin, for it to be the Penguin. I don't know. It's cool because he gives you chills. You know what he's doing in this? Yeah, you remember when we had that Netflix crap, and there was some few good things in there with D'Onofrio playing Kingpin.
Yep.
Absolutely eating the scenery, D'Onofrio. Of course, no shock. I mean, he's that kind of actor. But I'm getting bigger chills from Farrell than I did D'Onofrio, which is interesting to me because that I've seen the first and now the second one. He's just, oh goodness, dude, it's great.
Yeah,
His
yeah,
presence.
he's killing it. Yeah, I genuinely do think that's the plan. Is they wouldn't put all this effort into a major villain of Batman to this level if they weren't building him up to be
I would
that
hope so.
exactly
I
that.
would hope
Yeah,
so. But you never know. They kill, like Grimlock said, they like to kill characters off, man.
it's a
Um,
really
and
bad habit.
by the way, go watch all the Daredevil stuff with Kingpin. It's great. Do not watch Echo. Do not watch it because they cuck him out hard, and D'Onofrio let them. He should have said no. He should have said fuck
Oh,
off.
you know what's interesting? Um, we say they do have the habit of killing off
They
characters.
do. Yeah.
This franchise doesn't. This version of Batman did not do that. In fact,
Well, we
so
killed
Arkham.
Falcone.
Well, yes, but Arkham exists, but that was just to facilitate this, I think. Arkham exists, and it's being used. So that's very interesting because pretty much most of the other superhero movies don't do that. They just kill these people. They
They
die, or
do,
they kill themselves, be it by
which is
overreaching or
so
whatever nonsense.
short-sightedness. It really
Yes.
is. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway.
So I'm excited. It's going to
Yep.
be good. I think it
Yep.
looks good. It feels correct, at least in the tone of the trailer. So hopefully it stays that way throughout the show. That was the thing that movie did better than I think any Batman movie ever was tone. It set the tone. It stayed on its tone. It didn't deviate. It knew what it was going to do, and it did it. And that is why I still say to this day it's the best Batman movie ever made. It's not the best movie about Batman, but it's the best Batman movie ever
The
made.
setup is great. We have to
Yeah.
wait and see what they do. But this is certainly a good little tidbit, a
Yeah.
strong running for it. Hopefully, we'll have to see. This starts in September, so we got a ways to wait. Although we have some fun debacles in the interim before
Yep.
it comes, though. We have the Olympics starting next month, so that's going to be a debacle. No, it's going to be absolute disaster, dude. It's going to be an absolute disaster. It's going to be great. You know, the
I
Japanese
will
one was a
enjoy it.
disaster because the Japanese were too soft to stand up and say no, right?
Right.
This one's going to be an absolute debacle. It's going to be wonderful.
Yep.
Yep.
Excellent. I
Yep.
love it. I love it, love it, love it.
Cool. Well, anyway, thank you all very much for coming in. It's always fun to sit here and talk about the stupidity that's going on, but also the fact that there's some love as well. Like I said, we kind of mock and joke at all these nonsense things going on, and it's really unfortunate because for me anyway, I really would love to have great Star Wars stuff. I'd love to have good Marvel stuff. I mean, I want that would be great. But we just can't have good things, I guess.
No,
Yep.
apparently not.
Apparently
Not
not.
allowed. Not permitted, in
Not
fact.
allowed. Yeah. Oh well, we'll see how things wash out, as they say. Um, the interesting thing, I watch a lot of kind of artisan type of YouTube shows or history stuff is what I mainly watch. And one of the things I love is car mechanics. I'm a car guy. Um, and when I was young, I would turn a wrench and stuff. I haven't done it in a while, but I do love that kind of stuff. And there's one kind of character that has come up. I've been watching him since for 10 years, since the very beginning, and his name is Derek Bieri, and he has a show called Vice Grip Garage. He's got two shows. He's got Vice Grip Lodge, and he's also on Motor Trend. He's actually has a TV show with Motor Trend. And I've seen this guy go from, just a little YouTuber into he's famous now everywhere he shows up in that world. And the reason I mention it is because of this. In that world of car guys, and car girls, um, they are not at all impacted by this nonsense, even a little. They're very classic Americans. You might call them rednecks, I suppose, although I don't think we really have rednecks anymore. It's more of a trope. But those people in that community are living their best life. That's the new term that everyone likes to use, and having a good old time. And they're not impacted or influenced, it seems, at all by any of this nonsense. They're good old boys doing their thing.
It,
So it makes me happy, the fact that there is some real America left. Clearly,
it will never die.
yeah.
What we understand is the United States will probably go away sooner rather than later, but America will never die.
Mm-mm.
It rears its ugly head because it is an ugly head. Every so often throughout history, and usually when that happens, this spirit takes over a group of people. They become great. Happened here. It's happened throughout the world. So it's not going away. There's something inside of us
Right.
as a species that craves freedom. Not all of
Yeah.
us, but enough of us.
Yeah.
And that is what America is supposed to be,
It
the
is.
ideal.
And to be fair, all of this stuff, and with the falling of the petrodollar and stuff, in the long run, it might end up being exactly what America needs. It might
Yes.
be the
Well,
best thing.
especially considering the front runner for president, if that election ever happens fairly, has been floating the idea of coming up with legislation to greatly limit or straight end the income tax on the individual taxpayer, which is
Right.
something that not only should happen, the fact that it hasn't happened is deplorable.
Well, keep in mind that was never ratified.
Correct.
It has never been. You
It's
have to ratify what, 30 states, right? Um,
37.
37. They've never ratified that. So,
Yep.
now don't try not to pay your income tax, because you'll see
No,
the
do
federal
that.
government come
Yep.
on you. But
Yeah,
that
the
was never
IRS.
actually ratified. And if someone were smart and they say, hey, we never really got around to ratifying that, we should probably get it done and just kind of push it through, I guarantee you would fail. That would be
Yeah,
a smart way to do it. That would
yeah.
that would absolutely kill the
The
income
the best
tax.
part is that would work for sure, but you
Yep.
also wouldn't even have to because all the I think it's the 16th Amendment does is it gives them the ability to levy an income tax. It doesn't set the number, right?
Right.
All you'd have to do is literally just set the number to zero. You could do that in law. You just none. That's how much you owe. Zero. Goose. And that was what he's allegedly been proposing. He's been talking about behind closed doors. Now these are all rumors, but he did suggest something similar the first time around.
He did.
So I think he understands whether whether it's instinctual or intellectual, he understands that the income tax is wrong on the individual taxpayer. It just is. There's no way you can
Well, it's
justify it.
too exuberant, and there are worse
Especially, yes.
taxes. Property
Yep.
tax is a crime. Death tax,
Yep.
people should be strung up.
Yeah,
That's insane. What?
I agree.
But no, these things are ridiculous.
He
There
would
should.
he proposing to replace it with basically tariff taxes, but they're mostly just going to end up being consumption tax the way they'll play out, which is fine. I don't have any problem with that. I think sales tax most of the time is fine. It's perfectly reasonable. It's a great way of
Yeah.
because
Well,
it's optional. You
well,
don't have to buy that thing.
keep in mind, with the Roman Empire, and even if you add the Greeks in as well, their entire run, the entire history, 3,000 years of
Yeah,
history, there was a tax, and it was 10%, and it
yeah,
never
the tithe.
changed.
That's
And
right.
they ruled the damn world,
Yep.
right?
We
So,
conquered an entire continent and created one of the mightiest navies in the world with zero income tax.
yeah,
America did.
that's
That
right.
happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, we'll see where all that goes. Grimlock, would you like to give closing words?
Good night, ladies and gentlemen. See you next week.
All right. Well, very good. Thank you all. Definitely check you out next week. Couple days we're going to be doing, Iron Pass. We're having fun with that. And this coming Thursday, of course, we have Drone Recorder Ultimate Edition. I forgot what we're doing, but we're doing something. I think we're doing Jeff's book. We're doing Jeff's book. This is what we're doing. In 2 weeks, of course, we have July 4th. We won't be having Drone Recorder on that time. So get ready and have yourselves a good barbecue. But beyond that, next week, come on back. We'll have more laughs at the nonsense because I'm sure we can't go a day without stupidity. Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway, take us out of here, man.
This is one of my newer ones, and I really like it. And it's very simple, one little sentence: mastery of one is excellence in many.
Yeah, that's true. Definitely not a mistake. Just keep in mind, Thundera is, he's a wishy-washy, emotional guy.
Yeah, very
Yeah,
deep,
he's
deep
very, very.
thinker, deep
Yeah,
emotions over here.
yeah. He's our sympathetic one.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
Later, everybody.